I always wanted to do that. All these years, I never did it. I got to do it for the first time in my last meeting. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Rochester Hills City Council. It's Monday, November 10th, 2025. As always, if there's any members of the public wishing to give public comment on either an item on the agenda or items that are not on the agenda, please pick up one of the blue public comment cards on the back and fill it in and hand it to Ms. Whispern here. As always, public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Ms. Whispern, if you could please take the roll.
Good evening. President Deal?
Here.
Vice President Carlock?
Here.
Mr. Blair?
Here.
Ms. Moreland?
Here.
Ms. Mangioli?
Here.
Ms. Neubauer?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
President Deal, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Now, if you'll all please rise and join us, our youth council representative will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to make one slight modification to the agenda, and that is to move item number 2025-0476 forward to planning and economic development right after the conditional use approval, if that's acceptable to everybody. With that modification, we have a motion by Vice President Carlock, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. All those in favor of approval of agenda say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none. Agenda is approved and passed. Next up, Council and Youth Committee reports, and as always, we'll turn it over to our Youth Council representative, and tonight we have Deb with us.
Good evening, President Deal, Vice President Carlock, Mayor Barnett, council members, and citizens of the Rochester Hills. My name is Dave Shaw. I'm a 10th grader at the International Academy Central Campus, and this is my first year at the Rochester Hills Youth Council. I'm also a member of the Green Space Committee, and I'm excited to meet new people and understand what Green Space is all about. One of the goals I have during my term is to learn more about the different departments that make up our city. This past month, the Youth Council has joined many events, such as the Rochester Hills Fire Department Open House, where we met with some of the first responders who keep our city safe. The Stonewall Pumpkin Festival, where some of the Youth Council members assisted with the pumpkin carving station, and the Community Foundation tailgate. All these events were a huge success. This month, we're participating in an event called Light the Village on November 21st, which promises to be an exciting occasion for our community. The Rochester Hills Government Youth Council has also been planning a winter event. We'll discuss more possible ideas at our next meeting. Our next meeting will be on November 19th. Thank you for your time and have a beautiful evening.
Thank you very much for that report. Let's see, do we have any other council committee reports for the evening? Seeing none, we'll close the council and youth committee report and move on to recognitions. And we'll just call these 3 items in order: 2025-0478, 79, and 80. Proclamations in recognition of myself, Councilwoman Moreland, and Mr. Walker. I'll turn it over to Mayor Barnett.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, President Deal, City Council, and to our guests. Welcome to a little bit of history in the making. Obviously, in this past week, we had an election here in the city of Rochester Hills, expertly managed by Clerk Scott and team, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But throughout the election, one of the key things that happened in our city is 3 new council members, or 3 new members-elect were elected by the residents of the city, and we look forward to welcoming Diana Menino, Brad Lindbergh, and Mark Skelsey to the team here shortly. But tonight, we wanted to take a few moments and recognize the absolutely outstanding contributions of 3 current members who will be leaving us as this is their last meeting. I'm going to read a proclamation for each of them. A couple members of the administration are coming forward to say a couple short things, and then we'll maybe save all the comments that members might have till the end. But before I read the proclamations, I think it's important to note our city has had a tremendous amount of success recently with national recognitions, with incredible recognitions from our residents in statistically significant surveys, and the fact that it's been very well financially managed, all of that is a direct responsibility of the 7 people that you see in front of you here. Not all of them always alike on every issue, but all of them with a very same passion to represent the residents of this city and to position our city for success. And these 3 individuals who I'll recognize have been absolutely instrumental. Each of them has their own sort of personal passions, areas where they've gotten more deeply involved than others, but all 3 of them wonderful friends and certainly tremendously responsible for the reason our city has been so tremendously lauded over the past number of years. Let me start with President Deal. I'll read this proclamation, make a couple comments, and then move on to the next one. And whereas recognition of Ryan J. Deal, and he's an attorney, so you got to say the middle initial. Whereas Ryan is a longtime Rochester Hills resident and committed public servant known for his passion for strengthening city infrastructure and preserving the quality of life that defines our community. Whereas Ryan is known for artfully and adeptly leading our city council through many city-defining projects, including the construction of Innovation Hills, as well as the launching of Nowicki Park. Whereas Ryan has served with distinction on numerous boards and committees through his time on city council, including 6 years as president, where his greatest achievement was eliminating the requirement that the consent agenda be read verbatim into the record. I just added that myself, but I do believe that's more important than Innovation Hills. Whereas Ryan is widely appreciated for his ability to graft the voices of residents into the conversation while seamlessly running efficient and effective public meetings, respecting all viewpoints and achieving exceptional organizational success. Ryan is a proud husband to his wife, Melinda, and a dedicated father to their twin boys, Jack and Brennan. And whereas the City of Rochester Hills is proud to honor Ryan J. Deal for his talent, skill, leadership, and professionalism, and to thank him for his many years of service to our city, now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Brian K. Barnett, hereby thank Ryan Deal for faithfully serving the City of Rochester Hills as a City Council member and president, and on behalf of myself, my family, and the residents of our city, wish him the very best in all his future endeavors. Signed and sealed this day in November 2025. Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure to serve with you. You lead with your heart. You thoughtfully review every issue that comes before council, and I know your family is proud of you, your city is proud of you, and we're a better place because of your service, so thank you.
Thank you.
I now want to recognize another great friend and a tremendous asset to the City Council, Carol Moreland. Carol came to us a few years ago and jumped right in on a bunch of committees, taking lead on some of the more challenging issues in our city, and was always a tremendous passionate advocate for the voices of our residents. You've become a trusted friend, and the administration loves the addition that you always had of a thoughtful resident perspective, but a mind on future stability and sustainability. And so we want to recognize you and thank you for your contributions. And this proclamation reads, whereas Carol Moreland, a longtime Rochester Hills resident and dedicated public servant, has exhibited unrivaled support for youth engagement, senior enrichment, cultural and historical preservation, and the enhancement of our natural landscape. And whereas Carol distinguishes herself as a passionate advocate for our first responders and residents, sharing heartfelt concerns and representing the many voices of our neighborhoods. Whereas Carol thoughtfully and skillfully unites diverse perspectives and drives initiatives forward, serving as a catalyst for progress during her years on City Council as an engaged member of many boards and committees. And Carol has been a key leader in the transformation of the Pine Trace Golf Course and the forthcoming event space and clubhouse. Carol is a devoted wife to her husband, John, and proud mother of her 2 children, Emily and Andrew, celebrating a unique joy during her term on council, the marriages of both her children, which I know was a big concern when you first got on. And whereas the City of Rochester Hills is proud to honor Carol Moreland for her talent, skill, leadership, and professionalism, and to thank her for her many years of service to the city, now therefore be resolved that I, Mayor Brian K. Barnett, hereby thank Carol Moreland for faithfully serving the City of Rochester Hills as a City Council member, and on behalf of myself, my family, and the residents of our city, wish her the very best in all her future endeavors. Signed this day in November 2025. Carol, congratulations. That one of those engaged kids in the back?
Married.
Married, that's right, married. And Carol, just to say, you are have been such a wonderful part of this, always with a pleasant smile and valuable contributions. You become a great friend, and I really personally appreciate your friendship and your leadership on the council, so thank you. And finally, want to recognize, we got lots of
hardware.
Thank you. Back, yeah, the fire department. Want to recognize another great friend, someone that I knew fairly well when he got into city life, because he's sort of been Mr. Rochester Hills all over the place, in the chamber, in the Rotary, in the Christmas parade. But David Walker, you have been, again, a thoughtful leader, a good friend, and someone whose contributions you should feel very proud as you drive through the city and see the different things that you've been a part of. Whether it's a park project or the building appearance of a gas station or any of the other things that you've been a part of, you have certainly been an active voice and a wonderful leader on the City Council. And so I, too, would like to recognize you with a proclamation in your honor. It says, whereas David Walker, a longtime Rochester Hills resident and dedicated public servant, has been driven by a commitment to enhancing the quality of life for our residents, where David is known as a thoughtful contributor to council discussion with a passion for both strong financial management and the preservation of parks and green spaces. And whereas David embodies the Rotarian principle of service above self, serving on numerous civic roles before and during his years on City Council, including as an active member, ambassador, and MC extraordinaire for the Rochester Regional Chamber of Commerce, the face of the Hometown Christmas Parade, and a leader within the Rotary Club, the Older Persons Commission, and many other organizations. Whereas David has also been a key leader in the transformation of the Pine Trace Golf Course and the forthcoming event space and clubhouse. Where David is a devoted husband to his wife Kelly and proud father of his daughter Samantha. Whereas the City of Rochester Hills is proud to honor David Walker for his talent, skill, leadership, and professionalism, and to thank him for his many years of service to the city. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Brian K. Barnett, hereby thank David Walker for faithfully serving the City of Rochester Hills as a City Council member. And on behalf of myself, my family, and the residents of our city, wish him the very best in all his future endeavors. Signed and sealed this day in November. David, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the laughs down here on this end of the table, and for being...
Many of them at my expense.
Most of them, frankly, at your expense, President Deal, and for being really focused on strong financial management and making sure that the city is strong both now and well into the future. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as I present these proclamations to the council members, there are a few members of the administration that would like to come forward and make a couple comments. And maybe because she's closest, I'll start with Pam. And then if the others want to come over quickly, we'll line up and be ready to give our remarks.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As your Economic Development Manager, I have been incredibly blessed to serve all of you as the representative to your business community. But today I'm honored to have the opportunity to specifically thank President Deal, Councilmember Moreland, and Councilmember Walker for all of your support and your dedication to our businesses. Rochester Hills is home to 1,600 businesses in the community that employ over 40,000 people. I have always appreciated that you have recognized that element of our customer base, as we are always trying to be responsive to our customers. So whether it's been supporting the Brooklands projects, the Eagle projects, Mayor's Business Council, anything, on behalf of our business community, I want to thank all of you for your time, your attention, your support, and I wish you all the very best of luck.
Hello, good evening. So I am probably the newest member to administration, and I just want to say from a personal standpoint, I started 2 years ago when all of you were sitting here, and I really appreciate the honest, genuine, and grace that you've given me in acclimating to my role. That may seem very minor from where you're sitting, but from where I sit, that has made me very successful, and will continue. I'll continue to ride on that because you have created a solid foundation. Everything that each and every one of you do, you approach with respect, genuine, just would say, a genuine openness to really question and dive into why we do what we do, but it never feels, it never feels like an, I go not an attack, but, any aggression. It's always brought with just a genuine approach to want to question, right, why we're doing what we're doing, as you should. So I just appreciate anything that I brought forth from an HR perspective, which is not always an easy topic. You have supported. You have supported with the necessary questions, even from a pay philosophy that has continued to attract and retain the top talent. I thank you for that support. That makes us, I would say, probably the number one employer around, and we continue to attract, again, and retain folks because of your support. So again, from a personal standpoint, I really, appreciate and thank you for your genuine compassion and accepting me. And some folks have some big shoes to fill. I want to thank you, Carol Moreland, for helping me through HRTRC. You've been a valuable committee member, and we will miss you. We will miss you all, but I wish you the very best.
Good evening. Just want to say on behalf of the entire Department of Public Services, thank you very much. We always had your support and your trust. I know sometimes we're here with some tough topics to talk about, but again, we always had your support. You asked good questions, and you had the belief in the Department of Public Service. So I wish you the best. You will be thoroughly missed. Good luck. Thank you.
Good evening, President Deal, Councilwoman Moreland, and Councilman Walker. I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for your continued support. I know our budget process, our budget presentations are always unique, eccentric, and entertaining at times, but your continued support through the years has really helped this organization get to where we're going and continue to prosper. Facilities is now getting projects done that we've always wanted to get done, and your continued support has been a big part of that. And President Deal, I have to say I would be remiss if I didn't comment on reading the consent agenda verbatim in one breath. I think I've never seen that task done before. I was very impressive. And my first meeting here, you were reading them, and I said, I don't think he took a breath. That's good. That's good. All joking aside, I just want to say thank you. Our organization is much better. Our residents are seeing the benefits of all of your leaderships, and thank you. So good luck in the future.
Good evening, Mr. Walker, Mr. Deal, Ms. Moreland. Just really want to say thank you on behalf of the entire finance department here at the city for years of service and really your dedication to the city. You'll definitely be missed. I am glad that you will be getting your Monday nights back here in the very near future. So congratulations on that, and enjoy spending the time with your family. You can always, tune in and watch. So we're more than welcome to have you. And feel free and come by for the budget workshop each year. We'll let you guys know the dates and times, and you can continue on the fun with that. But thank you all very, very much. Congratulations and well done. Thank you.
It is a tremendous team effort, and on behalf of the entire administration, we thank the three of you for your contributions, and I'll turn it back over to you, President Deal.
If you would, President
Yes.
Deal, I would like to share a few words. Many in our community may not fully realize the sheer time and energy that those of you on council put into serving the residents and the business owners. I have had the privilege of working closely with this council for many years, and I've seen firsthand the endless emails, the detailed correspondence, the mountains of agenda packets you address. That's all in addition to the numerous meetings, community events you attend, and the phone calls you take. This role is far more than a 1 or 2 meetings a month commitment. Those of you serving in these positions truly sacrifice a great deal, and I personally want to commend you for that dedication. So to Carol, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you over the past 4 years. You have a very unique gift in the way you deliberate. You are thoughtful, intentional, and kind, and you always make it a point to consider both sides of an issue. And as busy as you are, you still give up your time to work elections. I cannot thank you enough for your service, and I'm going to miss you terribly. To Ryan, President Deal, we have worked closely together for a number of years now. I am always impressed by how easily you summarize and articulate complex topics presented at council meetings. Your engagement and leadership with our youth council has been so appreciated, and you have made a real lasting impact on the next generation of leaders in our community. Your clarity and voice will be greatly missed at the dais. And to David, in addition to working with you on the council, I've had the pleasure of attending the Liquor License Technical Review Committee meetings with you. Whether it's at a council meeting or a board meeting, you are always prepared, you do your research, and you ask pertinent questions. I've always appreciated how consistent you are and how much you have given to attending how much time you've given to attending all the ribbon cuttings and special events. That commitment has not gone unnoticed, and it has meant a great deal to our local businesses and residents. So to Carol, Ryan, and David, thank you all one last time for your dedicated service. You're leaving the city better than you found it, and I wish you the absolute best in all of your future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And to my fellow departing council members, you'll notice that on the dais you have a plaque. Carol, David, you'll notice you have a plaque there on behalf of City Council recognizing all of your years of service. I'll have additional comments when we get to legislative comments because I don't want to keep all these fine folks here. I really thought this would be easier, but it's not. But I'll have additional comments, but I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, and I mean this sincerely, it has been a great, great pleasure working with each and every one of you. I cannot imagine. I've just gotten so lucky to work with 6 other tremendous people that I not only count you all as colleagues here on the dais, I truly count you all as friends. To anybody that's ever considering being a council member or want to be on council, one of the questions that I always ask prospective council members is, have you talked to the current members of council? Because the reason I do that is because you're one of 7, and you're one voice out of 7. And it takes a majority. It takes 4 to make anything happen. I'm proud that most of the time, in fact, nearly all the time, it's 7. That we're all swimming in the same direction. But the relationships that you build and the relationships that you have with the people with whom you serve and the administration are critically important to this, to making this community work and to making this. And I have to tell you, every single one of you are some of the finest public servants I have ever met. You all put the city before everything. There's no politics, there's no egos. Everyone here, and whether we agree or disagree, it's because you truly care about what we're doing here. There's no other agenda other than what you're passionate about in the city. And for all of that I think that's what's enabled us to do all these great things. So the plaque is just a small token. I do have other comments that I'll make during legislative comments, but I just had to say I just appreciate each and every one of you.
Ryan, since you didn't speak on yourself, we all want to thank you for your leadership on council. For 6 years, you've been president. 2 years, sitting over here. You've promoted resident engagement. You've got people involved. You've led effective and efficient meetings. You're good at it. You're an orator. We could all only hope to be as good at public speaking as you are. We, all of the residents of Rochester Hills, we're residents. We, the residents of Rochester Hills, are all grateful for the service from the 3 of you. We wish you all the best in whatever comes next. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are not making this easy. Next up, Mrs. Moreland.
Thank you, President Deal. I just want to say thank you for everyone that has spoken tonight, and even those that haven't. I just appreciate your support, your wonderfully kind words, and I have just really loved serving with all of our departments. And Mayor, you're amazing, and it's just been wonderful to work with you. And I count it just an honor and a privilege to have served with such a great council. You have become friends as well as fellow council people, and I have really found it an honor and a privilege. And I have to say that not only has it been wonderful to serve our residents, but it's been great for my family. When I came on, both my kids were single, then they got engaged, now they're both married. I no longer have a single son, so it's been great personally and as far as serving on the council. So thank you so much for just making this city, as all of your residents, making this city one of the best cities that anyone could ever serve on. So thank you, President Deal.
Thank you. Next up, Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Deal. I just wanted to say a couple things. I've known Ryan for almost 2 decades now, and we met because we were both attorneys working in the same field, in the same courthouse, in good times and in bad times. And not a lot of people know this, but I must say that there was a case that we had together.
Oh.
And yeah, it was and it was really tough. And he was the court attorney. It was during COVID, and one of the litigants got a little bit out of hand. And I'm very good at standing up for myself. And before I had a chance to even say anything, Ryan jumped in, stopped the poor behavior, and completely defended my honor. And from that day on, even though we disagree like brother and sister, that was the first time I looked at you as a brother. And I was really thankful for that, because it was so nice to have him advocate for me before I was held in contempt. So that's really good. So thank you for that. Since I've been sitting here, I've been texting your beautiful bride, and she has a message for you. Can you please let him know how incredibly proud I am of him, and the boys are too. He has selflessly served the residents of Rochester Hills with so much dedication. We love him so much, and we wish we could have been there to support him tonight. We've watched him spend countless hours attending meetings and events and working on issues, and it's been a pleasure to watch him proudly serve his city. He truly cares about the residents and will miss serving them. We love you so much, and we're sad that we're not there tonight. So that's from Melinda. I also love you, but she loves you extra.
Yes.
Okay. Carol is super special to me, too, because she became a big sister to me. She taught me how to, when I told her I wanted to make an all-American Thanksgiving because my husband was complaining about getting shawarma and lamb and grape leaves for Thanksgiving, she brought me to her house. We wore matching aprons and made apple pies and sweet potato pies together. When I was struggling with some personal things, she offered to drive me to our meetings and our events, and I just love you so much. And even though you're totally abandoning us and you could have had another 4 years, I know we're going to have you with us all the time. And
At the public hearings.
At the public hearings, writing blue cards. Yeah,
Yes.
You'll write your blue cards, tell us how we're doing and all of that. Mr. Rochester Hills, I want to say thank you so much. I can always count on you to do the real estate work, so I don't have to crunch the numbers. And thank you for your service, and good luck in everything you do. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Blair.
Thank you, President Deal. I don't even think it's necessary to build on what's already been said with your contributions and your dedication to the city. It stands on its own.
Very good. Next up, Mrs. Mangielli. No, just kidding.
Not so quick, not so fast. You realize that your departure will leave this council with only one attorney and only
That's
one
maybe one too many.
and only one nerd. We're going to do our best, though, but I do want you to know that over these 6 years, you have not just been an excellent role model, but a fantastic friend, one of my best friends, and I really, really appreciate that. Carol, sitting next to you, I can almost hear the gears turning. Every time you chime in, I can tell that you've put passion and thought into your words and into your voting, and isn't that what we're all elected for, to do what we think is right? And I've never questioned, even though I think we probably haven't agreed on everything, but you can definitely tell that you put heart and soul into it, and I've really appreciated that, and wish you the best. Mr. Walker, 7 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined how you could have done even more for the city than you've already done with your work on the chamber and the parade and all of your other obligations, Rotary and whatnot. You are really another role model of mine, because it's how you give back that is such an inspiration. So know that it's always a pleasure to watch your smile, because it makes me smile. It makes me want to do my best. So keep up the great work, Dave. We're going to miss you. Back to you, Prez.
Thank you. Mrs. Mangioli.
Thank you, President Deal. So, wait a minute, how many more times do I have to call you President Deal tonight?
Not many.
Not many, okay. So I do want to thank you, because when I came onto council, you welcomed me into this organization when I had not been like the selected person to run. And to come in here, having been on the outside of council, you opened the dais to me, allowed for respectful dialogue, and you gave me a committee on the very first night that I was here. So I want to thank you for that. Give me an ad hoc committee. So you have been a great leader, and thank you very much for your leadership, for the dialogue. I have said we have to check the YouTube channel to make sure you're watching us and not Monday Night Football.
Probably be Monday Night Football.
Shucks. All right. Well, but thank you very much for all that you have done for us. For Councilman Walker, I was trying to think of different things to say this evening, and as I was walking in, I realized I'd applied for the spot that you got. Back in 2018, there was an open seat on council, and you and I were the last two that were being interviewed by council that evening, and you won the vote in 2018. So God had a plan for both of us. Because of you winning that race, I ended up running in 19, and I'm guessing that God has a plan for you too after you leave us tonight, because you have been an exceptional leader in our community. Meanwhile, I'll be still here on Monday nights, and again, we'll be watching to see if you are watching us on the YouTube channel. But thank you, David. For Carol. You and I have known each other a long time, and your son was a lot smaller at the time. I think they were like 5 and 7 at the time, and they were knocking doors for me when I was running for school board. So that's how long I've known. And one of you wanted butter pecan, and I can't remember the other ice cream flavor, because that was your treat for knocking doors back all those years ago.
Oh, I had to give cash.
Yes, it was a long time. Yes, yeah, I know. You have to find those kids young when they're knocking doors. I think your own kids have helped you with your campaign
cash,
too.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. No cash. Mom wouldn't allow it. This was something to get them involved in the community. Carol, you've been my seatmate for these 4 years, and it has been fun to at times like, what is she looking at over there? But you've also been our caregiver. The person who has known all of us, find all those different things that are going on in each of our lives, take care of the gifts to staff, and coordinate our participation in the Christmas parade. And suddenly I'm like, Marvy, what does she do? I don't know what she does. Who does she ask? And what do we have to do? And where are those decorations? You have been more impactful to me in all these years, but you have no idea what your friendship has meant, to know that you've been here next to me, both at these meetings and outside. I'm still going to be inviting you to lunch on Fridays, and we'll get together and talk about the agendas and figure out what we should be doing and what we can do better. Thank you so much for being here, for your friendship over these years, for your wonderful family that I have gotten to know as well. So thank you. and best of luck. But we'll keep you busy, and I think we're only talking about Instapot recipes and how we're going to cook the next Thanksgiving meal. So thank you, Carol. Back to you, President.
Thank you. Mr. Walker.
Thank you, President Deal. I guess we're doing this now. Right. So first of all, I'd like to thank the residents that elected me to this position some 7 years ago. It was quite a ride, a quick 7 years, no question about it. But hopefully I've done great honor to those individuals that entrusted me with this position. And it has been one heck of a 7-year run. You think about what has occurred in this city in the last 7 years. We go back to the Auburn Road project. The Brooklyns have been transformed. Absolutely, one of the oldest communities in our area has been reinvigorated, reworked. And in fact, I even understand Juan Blanco has opened, which is an amazing testament unto itself with one of our quota licenses. So look forward to tipping a cocktail down there soon. But Innovation Hills was a field, vacant land. It was nothing some 7 years ago. And you see what that has been transformed into these 7 years. And it continues to grow and evolve from rope bridges and parks and pathways. It's an amazing testament, a destination in southeastern Michigan. We have the Gateway Project, long time in the making, over 20 years. But when you arrive in Rochester Hills, to know that you have arrived in Rochester Hills, we now have signs, pediments that really depict what a wonderful Rochester Hills community we have to live in. So the Gateway signs, as you drive around, you'll see them installed, and hopefully they'll be landscaped and lighted. So we'll all appreciate that as you come and go from our community. The Eagle Project, through no fault of our own, I see Representative Tisdale here this evening. $75 million was allocated from the state budget to help us clean up some 600+ contaminated acres in our community through no fault of our own. But it gives us the opportunity to assess and clean up all of that dirty land to make it productive. So what a wonderful opportunity that we've had. And then the crown jewel, the Pine Trace Golf Course transformation. For those of you who are familiar with Cherry Creek or Shepherd's Hollow, we have partnered with the same individual to reinvigorate Pine Trace. And I hope, I pray, within a couple of 3 years, not only the golf course, the driving range, the entrance, but we are going to have a world-class venue there. If you've ever been to a Cherry Creek or Shepherd's Hollow, we need a venue like that here in Rochester Hills, and we're about to get one. All I have to say about that, I look forward to seeing it. It's going to be absolutely stunning. So that's the projects. In the last 7 years, that's like the highlight film. All those other things that have gone on in addition to that, we have had a heck of a run, and I'm so proud to be part of that. You think about in the last 7 years, we've welcomed half of the new administration. I was on the committee where we promoted, elected our new clerk, Leanne Scott, one of the best decisions we've ever made.
And then she became Clerk of the Year.
Clerk of the Year. Yes, we have chosen well. No question about it. But we welcomed Mike Vyzanko, Brooke Insana, Rochelle Lyons, a new chief in the fire department, a new captain in the police department. It's an amazing transformation in the administration, world-class individuals. I appreciate working with the rest of the individuals that were here when we got here. The Ken Elwert, Sarah Rodiger, the ladies from assessing, Lori and Karen, you can't forget them. And who doesn't love a little Joe Snyder? He's such a good sport. What the mayor puts you through at his State of the Cities, he is a trooper. He does a wonderful job. I think there's a bit of thespian in him. So he is a performer. But all of them, world-class, undeniable, the best of the best. And we are so proud. I am so proud to have served alongside you these past 7 years. Learned so much. It's admirable. You guys are great. And then you can't go without saying that we've got a wonderful mayor. I don't care what you say. He's been our mayor for almost 2 decades, 20 years, and prior to that, he served for council on 7 years, 27 years of public service. Over half his life has been dedicated to Rochester Hills, and I can assure you, we would not to be the city that we are today without the leadership of this young man here. We are so thankful, proud, honored to have served alongside you and watch not only you transform, but as you transform this city. You've done a wonderful job. It is your leadership, your vision, your guidance. We're just along for the ride. These 7 people come and go. You're the rock. You've been here, and you will continue to be here. And as long as you'll have us, it will be to our benefit. Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you. And I've served with some of the greats over the years. Mark Tisdale, unbelievable representative on City Council. Dr. Susan Boyer, Dale Hetrick, Ryan Deal, David Blair. Wonderful individuals, dedicated people to this community. Again, honored to have served alongside you for these past 7 years. I can't say enough. It's our last meeting. We might as well just ramble on. We said it was going to be a short meeting, right? But I am absolutely honored. I appreciate the residents. I appreciate the projects. We have transformed this city, and they will continue to transform this city under the leadership and guidance of this mayor and this administration. Thank you. I appreciate you. God bless you. And God bless Rochester Hills. Back to you, President Deal.
Thank you very much. And that concludes our recognitions. And now we will move on to presentations. Item number 2025-0464, Fire Department 50th Anniversary Proclamation. Yeah. I'm going to turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you to all the council members for the kind comments, and they're all echoed back at you from the administration. Transitioning, this is an exciting moment. In fact, I'd like to ask the council to join me in front of the dais, if you would, and I'd like to ask the chiefs to join me, Chief Todd Gary, Deputy Chief Bill Cook, and Assistant Chief Ann Eccles, and I'll meet you over there in 1 second. Well, we had a chance last month to have our fire department open house, and one of the unique things we did this year was recognize that we celebrated kind of a milestone. Our 50th year of official fire protection in the city of Rochester Hills, as we really were incorporated as a fire department back in 1975. That was a really good year, by the way. It was a lot of good things happened in 1975. But I'm joined here with the leadership of our incredible department, and I will just read a couple. I won't read this whole proclamation, but in essence, it just is a way for us to thank and recognize our first responders. Oftentimes, when you see them, it's in a time of tremendous need, a time of challenge for us, or a budget presentation. But we don't often get to just welcome them here to say thanks. And that's what we're here to do today, is just to thank them for their leadership and for the folks that have come before them in providing 50 years of excellent protection for our citizens. And so it's in recognition, a proclamation signed by all 7 members of the City Council, the 50th anniversary of the Rochester Hills Fire Department, whereas we proudly recognize the 50th anniversary of the RHFD, which began its commitment to safety and service in 1975 with the merger of the Brooklands and Avondale Fire Departments to form the Avon Township Fire Departments before we were even a city. And whereas Avondale firefighter and U.S. Navy veteran Mark Belkoff served as the first chief until 1996, the department is now led by Chief Todd Gary, a second-generation firefighter who started with the Avon Township Fire Department in 1981. You've been here for almost the entire length and duration of the department. The fire department operates out of 5 stations, taking care of our entire city, remains committed to providing comprehensive services to all folks in our community through advanced life support, fire inspections, educational programs, community outreach, and essential fire protection. Whereas we, the City Council, and I are deeply privileged to be served by the dedicated professionals of the Rochester Hills Fire Department, whose members display unwavering bravery, professionalism, and selflessness as they put the safety and well-being of residents above their own. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Rochester Hills hereby proclaim our deepest respect and appreciation for the Rochester Hills Fire Department and officially celebrate 50 years of dedicated service to our community. Presented to Chief Todd Gary.
I just want to say thank you to City Council and the Mayor for recognizing and honoring our 50 years of service. We accept this recognition on behalf of all the current members of our department and all the past members who have served this organization. We also pledge to continue to provide excellent service for the next 50 years but I won't be here that long. Thank you very much.
We'll go through and shake everyone's hand, and we'll take one picture, and then we'll get on with the rest of the meeting.
Next up, we have item number 2025-0465, a presentation from Midwest Strategy Group. Can't forget it that way.
You know what, go broadcast mine and I'll click for you. Do you wanna-
Good evening. Good to see everyone. President Deal, Vice President Carlock, council members, Mayor Barnett, Adam Wright with Midwest Strategy Group. It's good to see you all and good to be here to present an update from our state capitol. The biggest thing that we were able to accomplish in Lansing is getting the state budget done. It was a big accomplishment. It took a little longer than we expected, but we appreciate the hard work of our state legislators in this process. The first time I got to see a continuation budget at the state level, they passed a 7-day continuation budget the morning in the early hours of October 1st so that we wouldn't have a state government shutdown like we've been experiencing at the federal level for some time. And then at around 4 a.m. on October 3rd, they passed the complete $81 billion state budget for the fiscal year that we're currently in. One item that we continually hear about that was touted in this budget was the elimination of what was referred to as ghost employees or unfilled positions at the state of Michigan that were just on the manning table, unfilled in the departments, and many of those were able to be eliminated. I think probably it was about 1,800 that they eliminated. Another important issue that came up that I think both sides of the aisle have been talking about is transparency for earmarks or special projects. The first time that I can remember that any special project not only had to be on a state website for the public to be able to view, but testimony had to be provided by those asking for the special project fund, and that also was done in public. A lot of times in previous years, those things were added at the last minute with negotiations, and so this earmark transparency was critical and very good for everyone in the state of Michigan. Next, the biggest thing that we dealt with in the budget was road funding and associated taxes with that. And so, as we know, the governor has, over her 2 terms, wanted to increase dedicated funding for the roads here in Michigan. And the Speaker of the House and eventually the Senate Majority Leader were able to come up with a deal that was able to increase funding for our roads. The biggest thing that they did was to remove the sales tax on gasoline and increase the gas tax so that all of the funding at the pump actually goes to roads. As we know, sales tax doesn't just go to road funding, it went to local governments, it goes to schools. And so that was one of the ways that they did that. I think they put about between $750 million towards roads. They also decoupled some CIT taxation things from the federal government, which saved the state of Michigan money, and they raised a marijuana tax, which will raise about $420 million. With road funding, when they didn't backfill the dollars for the sales tax on revenue, it did create a hole for constitutional revenue sharing. So constitutional revenue sharing was decreased for municipalities throughout the state. Statutory revenue sharing was flat, but they did do public safety revenue sharing for the first time. As many of you remember, I've come here and talked about the Public Safety and Violence Prevention Fund that was proposed legislatively. Instead of doing that legislatively as an actual like trust fund, they did it in the budget, and they've dedicated $50 million ongoing, $20 million in one-time dollars. At least 75% of these dollars must be spent on law enforcement agency or officers. Not more than 25% can be spent on non-law enforcement agency or law enforcement public safety. They were pretty clear in their language, though, what you cannot use the money for. So pension OPEBs, lawsuits and claims payments, debt service payments, facial recognition technology. And two of my favorites, vehicles weighing more than 15,000 pounds are used for tactical police purposes, so no Rochester Hills tanks, or acquisition or use of a chemical weapon. Interesting, but that's what they've included. Next, specifically for the city of Rochester Hills, just wanted you to see kind of how the funding is going to be for you moving forward. So as you can see, the constitutional piece did move down slightly. Statutory revenue sharing, flat. The public safety funding that I spoke about will be about $47,000. While that number isn't big, it speaks to the safety of your community, as these dollars were given out based upon 3 years of violent crime statistics. So having a low number there is not necessarily a bad thing. It means you live in a safe community. And then the new road funding that you'll see for fiscal year 26 with the budget will be $3.3 million. The year after that, for fiscal year 27, will be $5.1 million. Big numbers coming in for road funding. And so while there were some dollars that didn't stay there for constitutional funding, several $1 million that'll come in additionally for road funding. A big win, thanks to Representative Tisdale and Senator Weber, always great partners to work with. I'm not saying it's just because the representative's in the room, but wonderful, wonderful person to work with, always has an open door and an open ear, and always will do everything he can for Rochester Hills. We were able to work in conjunction with them to secure $2 million for Nowicki Park. So grateful for that, as many, I think originally there were over $4 billion worth of requests from legislators across the state, and we were grateful to secure $2 million ultimately of what was included. What's next is, we've talked about some of these before. Time is going to be limited for the rest of the year, as there's a couple of weeks of break coming up and then some limited session in December. But we've talked about housing legislation in the past, and we're specifically watching anything that has to do with local preemption that may come up, because we're hearing that is on the horizon. not been introduced yet, but we continually hear it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. So we're watching for it. And as soon as we see that legislation introduced, we'll make sure that we communicate that to you. The Disabled Veterans Property Tax Exemption fix, those bills are continually being drafted, and we hope to see those introduced soon. We do hear there will be some sort of supplemental budget that'll be introduced. That supplemental budget we hear will be to help fix some additional things in the budget that was passed, as well as potentially like book closing for year-end things. But we don't expect it to be a large supplemental budget that encompasses very many things. We did hear, though, that there could be between $90 and $230 million left on the balance sheet, so there are additional funds if the legislature does want to do something. The governor, Senate Majority Leader, and Speaker of the House did agree that they wanted to do something on economic development. I think before the end of the year, the clock is ticking, but we'll see if they're able to get something done. One thing we have heard a lot about are there members of the legislature that don't support the MEDC. They've introduced legislation to get rid of the MEDC, and we're hearing a lot about not pre-funding economic development projects. So meaning that we hand out money in the beginning and with promises that jobs come, and there are concerns that not always do the jobs come. And so they're looking at some things that reward employers for creating jobs, and that reward comes on the back end after the jobs are created. So we'll see what gets introduced. And then water affordability legislation is something that we've talked about before, and that has been introduced in the Senate. We're not certain if it gets out of committee or if it gets on the Senate floor, but we've been assured that it has no legs in the House of Representatives and will not move there. And then last, as we all know, we just got through an election, but it's time for another one. 2026 is a big one, in that we will be electing a brand new governor, Secretary of State, Attorney General, member of the U.S. Senate. All of our members of Congress are up. The state Senate and state House are all up for grabs. And as we see the front runners in the party for governor, Jocelyn Benson, and John James, and then independent candidate Mayor Mike Duggan. Recent polling suggests that they're all pretty close, neck and neck, and it's going to be interesting over the next year to see how this race unfolds. There are also several ballot initiatives that could make it to the ballot that you'll want to take a look at. Some of the ones that I wanted to highlight for you: ranked choice voting. We talked about this earlier with the directors today, and for those of you that run for office, you know it's hard enough to get folks to fill in the bubble or to connect the arrow to start, and now we're going to be asking voters to rank who they want first, second, third, and so on. And it's a much more confusing system for people, and it'll be interesting to see if they get enough signatures to get it on the ballot. What we see is this is an outside group that has a decent amount of money that is collecting signatures, so it could make it to the ballot. The other one is Axe My Tax that we've talked about several times as well. We have been hearing that that grassroots organization isn't doing as well as what people had thought they would. The leader of that, Carla Wagner, has thrown her hat in the ring for governor, and I think that's really kind of made that grassroots organization fizzle out. In our last interview, Ms. Wagner said that she had 300,000 or 400,000 names. Names does not equal signatures, so names equals targets that could sign a petition. And so the thought process in Lansing is that they will fall short of getting their signatures to be able to put that on the ballot. But I'll keep you updated as things get, if they get enough signatures, and what will actually be on the ballot come next year. Finally, thanks to President Deal and to Council Members Moreland and Walker for your partnership since I've been here and for the time that we've represented you. We're very grateful to be your voice in Lansing along with your legislators, and it's been a pleasure to work with each and every one of you. And now I have questions, and so I think it's perfect because I know Representative Tisdale's up next, so he can answer all the tough questions.
Yeah,
But
that's
no,
so easy. It's
Yeah,
like-
I know. Happy to take any questions, so.
Thank you very much. And thank you, and once again, thank you, Adam, and for all your service to Midwest Strategies. This is one of the unique things that Rochester Hills does, is that we have representation in Lansing. Not every city does this. And, if you look at, some of our wins over the past, 10 years, the Eagle grant, one of the largest grants, and then now with the Nowicki Park grants, and I missed probably about a dozen or more that it's really been valuable to the city of Rochester Hills to have that representation in Lansing. I think it's one of the things that we do right, and I'm gonna miss you guys. So,
thank you,
Mrs. Muncioli.
Thank you, President Deal. Thank you so much. And taking from what President Deal was talking about, lobbyists, not everybody thinks that they're great to have, but you have done a fabulous job for our city. But wasn't there rumbling of a House bill that would prevent government bodies or local communities from having a lobbyist firm? Is that bill still out there? Do we need to advocate to a state rep to make sure it doesn't get anywhere?
It was introduced recently. It's my number one priority to kill. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it was introduced recently and referred to committee. We're going to monitor it and see if there are any legs. At the end of the day, we advocate on behalf of the city, but on behalf of your residents, and it's their right and their voice to be able to spend tax dollars to hire people to talk on their behalf, because you're very well represented by the Michigan Municipal League, but we can be an extra voice just on behalf of you and your residents.
Well, you have certainly brought back 10, 20, 100-fold what we have paid you as a lobbying firm just in the grants that President Deal has talked about in those line item appropriations. They have been invaluable to our community, and if you need help talking to other legislators besides Representative Tisdale to make sure they get squashed, please let us know how we can help advocate for you. Michigan Homes Bill, what impact is that going to have on Rochester Hills? Tonight we're going to adopt the planning master plan, and now we may have something on the Michigan Homes Bill that will impact us. So what does that do?
Well, it hasn't been introduced yet, but I can tell you that this was a plan that's put together so that there is a plan that's different than local preemption. Local preemption is just a bad idea in that your residents elect all of you to help decide what Rochester Hills is going to look like. You have very capable staff and planning and zoning that can work with residents and business owners in regard to what the community should look like. And so I think it's going to be important that we just continue to push against local preemption, because the state shouldn't decide what is your job to decide. And I think those bills are still being drafted. Once they're drafted completely, I'll make sure there's a more complete analysis for you and let you know what committees they go to and what will happen with them.
That would be great, because all the work that our team has been doing this last 2 years on the master plan, to see it maybe impacted significantly by the Michigan Homes Bill Act, however it gets phrased, I'd hate to see that happen. And the best government is local government. So to think that somebody else would come in and dictate to us would not be something that I would appreciate, nor I think the rest of my council or the city administration here. So thank you for any heads up that you can give us on that activity. So
absolutely.
Again, Adam, thank you so much. You do a great job for us. I greatly appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we have no further questions. You're off the hook, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next up, item number 2026-0475, State Representative Mark Tisdale's legislative update.
Well, I'd like to thank Adam for giving my presentation. Let me just get a few additional notes up here. For starters, relative to the budget, the process took much longer this year than was anticipated but the 18 appropriation subcommittee chairs were given a different assignment. The assignment was to start at zero and then figure out how much it costs to meet the constitutional requirements, then the statutory requirements, then to maintain the investments that the city had, or the city, I'm still here, the state has, has already put into motion, and you want to preserve that investment. And then it was, how much additional investment do we need to pursue the projects that are in the works? And that project just took a much longer period of time. It was during that time that we identified 4,277 ghost jobs, and these are full-time equivalents that were fully funded but never filled. So the question was, where did the money go? And there was a lot of pushback on that there was no such thing. But when it was all said and done, there were 2,001 of those positions that were removed from the budget without firing anyone. And there were 900 additional positions that were in the executive recommendation that were not filled or put into the budget either. So now you're starting to close in on close to 300 or 3,000 jobs rather. All said and done, one of the objectives for the budget was met. It came back $1.1 billion smaller than last year's budget, just in the state money. 800 million of that was in general funds, which gives us much greater flexibility to meet challenges as the next fiscal year goes along. Rochester Hills came out of it very well, all things considered. The fact that there was that the money, coming from the state budget was, in fact, reduced. But it's a team effort getting these supplemental requests or earmark requests across the finish line. We're blessed to have Senator Weber as a part of our group. Mike is a great guy. He has a very good reputation in Lansing. He's not a name caller or a bomb thrower, and everybody is willing to work with him. And of course, he has a soft spot in his heart here for his hometown and where he served on the council. Our lobby advocacy representative in Midwest, they do a great part of the work. And with Nowicki Park, I reached out to Pam and Valentic and Sarah Rodiger and Ken Elwert, and we tried to present this Nowicki Park as a regional park and point to the fact that the Rochester Hills is a regional center. And in my testimony, I said that we get over 1 million visits a year to our parks, and of course Director Elwert came in and corrected me. It's 1.7 million visits. So apparently my state rep math is different than mayoral math. I always come in a little under, but he's pumping it up. And then we got 175,000 through the good work of Jake German and Damascus Consulting. We got 175,000 for the Common Ground Resiliency Center on Auburn Road, right across kind of kitty corner from the splash pad. And it's just amazing how the city, the administration, city council, and the residents have responded after that tragedy. And it's just a great source of pride that's something that we can overcome with such gusto and get back at living, and not allow us to be thwarted, or the spirit of the city be thwarted in that way. I've been asked by the Speaker of the House, along with Representative Hoadley, who's chair of economic competitiveness. I'm chair of the House Finance Committee. The two of us have been asked to start to develop a kind of master plan for the state's future economic development activities. Representative Hoadley and I, Chair Hoadley and I, will be sponsoring a two-bill package on jobs coming up shortly. And the first draft of our economic development plan has been sent to the Speaker's office. And in fact, we will not be encouraging, hopefully prohibiting any additional upfront monies, and there are creative ways to help where upfront funding is needed. But since the year 2000, the state of Michigan has spent $20 billion on corporate and business incentives. And in automotive jobs alone, we're down 145,000 in that same period of time. So we have about half the number of automotive jobs left that we had when we started the $20 billion in investment to either retain or encourage. So that giving money up front and then hoping for returns later on. The Mackinac Center did a study more recently. In the time that Governor Whitmer has been in office, we've spent about $1 billion on direct incentives, and for every 1,000 jobs promised, we've gotten 90. So that kind of approach needs to be changed. And again, I've been asked by the Speaker, along with Chair Hoadley, to go to work on that. There's a lot of work to be done on that, and so with that in mind, 1 year from the next reelection date, I went down to the county building and refiled to run for this office again, and it's been a great privilege under the old terms, this term limits. This would have been my last term. I just turned 70. I don't know how many more of these I have in me, but I am committed to one more and hope to see, some of these economic changes and strategies, come to fruition. Again, it did take a long time to get the budget process done. We missed the fiscal year only by a couple of days, but very proud of the fact that when we did get the votes up on the board out of 110 members, just about every bill received 100 votes. So there were some, some slings and arrows thrown back and forth across the aisle, but push came to shove when it came time to vote. Everybody came forward. Record school funding, mentioned the Public Safety Trust. Be about $1.5 billion will come to local roads directly. And just one last thing that came up over the weekend and really was reported very lightly today. We get about 41% of the entire state budget from the federal government. Just over the weekend, the U.S. debt now passed the $38 trillion mark. Just the end of August, beginning of September, we were at $37 trillion. So in just over 2 months, we've added another $1 trillion to the federal debt. And if you run that out on an annualized basis, that means we're running at about a $5.1 trillion deficit for this fiscal year. And that's unsustainable. And so when you consider the fact that 41% of our state's total budget comes from the federal government, there are genuine concerns out there. There will be changes at the federal level. There will be changes at the state level because it's a reality. The days of borrowing trillions at a time will come to an end. And so there are going to be some hard realities to put into place, and that's part of what we're looking at to make this a hugely successful city. If you look at a map, Michigan is unique. We border all of the Great Lakes, 25% of the world's fresh water. Our population is just about the same as it was in 1980. We've been flat for 2.5 generations. That can no longer go on that way. We're second in the nation in born-in population. About 76% of our population was born in the state of Michigan. Louisiana is number 1 at about 78%. Meaning we can't attract out-of-state residents any better than the state of Louisiana can, for crying out loud. Our growth rate, or lack thereof, is second only to West Virginia. We're 39th in per capita income. We are not a rich state. We're a few $100s a year ahead per capita on an annual income basis from Oklahoma. No one in Michigan considers themselves in the same financial boat as Oklahomans. So there's a lot of work to be done. There are a lot of very necessary and significant changes that need to be made. And that's why I signed on for 1 more year, and am very honored to be selected by the speaker to help craft some of those changes, and open for questions.
Thank you very much. We do have some questions for you, Rep. Tizzle. We'll start with Mr. Blair.
Representative Mark, thank you, as always, for your updates. We appreciate them. Thank you for bringing up the budget, the federal budget, because this is something that concerns me greatly. We have a budget process here in the city of Rochester Hills that I think is second to none. And as we go up the chain, we see less and less competency. I'm very pleased that you were able to get a budget over the finish line, but you can sense and you can see the dysfunction. And as you go higher and you look at the federal government, it's a complete disaster. And I share your concerns, and I'm hopeful that you can help problem solve to make that better. One question, though. For your next term, will you still be using the stairs in that huge office building in Lansing? Are you? Or did you start using the elevator?
Well, because of my advanced age, they gave me a parking space underneath the House office building, which was very nice, so I don't have to endure the winter temperatures anymore. But that's 1 more flight of stairs to. So I start the morning by 10 flights of stairs up to my office. And
for those that don't know, the reason that a 70-year-old representative looks like a 50-year-old representative is because he takes, 6 flights of stairs?
You've got your glasses on.
Every day when he goes to work, and I think that sets a great example. So keep it up. We need to keep you around, and we appreciate all you've done for the city.
And let me say, too, understand that at the federal, state, and even here at the county and the city level, there's a constituency for every single dollar that's spent. And trying to change the status quo is very difficult. And as long as there's value in the status quo, change will come slowly, because there are a lot of invested interests out there that want to keep the money flowing in their direction. I hope we don't have to run into a crisis. I hope we don't have to hit bottom before we bounce and start a trip back up. But historically, that's when major change happens.
That's the concern, though, is that the change is going to be incremental and lethargic, but the potential crash, the potential unraveling would be very quickly, right?
And what I intend to propose is, along with Rep. Hoadley, is we'll be dramatic and bold, and then through the whittling process, hopefully a good part of it can actually be put into place.
Thanks, Mark.
Next up, Mayor Barnett.
Thank you, President. I'll be very brief. I just anytime we get a chance to have you here, Mark, Representative Tisdale, I just always want to say thanks, because you are the consummate representative. We've been friends for a long time.
What did you say?
I don't want to have to say that word one more time. You're really good. Is that better?
That's very nice.
For all the things, you know, I mean, oftentimes Mark will call me or text me during a vote and say, this is what's happening. How does the city feel about this? Where's the city at this? You've done a fantastic job, and there's not a Republican or Democrat or independent who couldn't look at your record in terms of just representing the constituents here and not say that you're doing a great job. So I just want to say thanks for being someone that is always advocating for our community. It's appreciated.
Thank you. And you know, and the experience, the 8 years on this panel and working with you and Pam and Sarah and Joe, you know, just the fact that I have objective experts that I can reach out to that can give you the straight information right out of the chute is huge. And you don't know what a blessing it is for you, for the current members. One of the biggest problems in Lansing is, you know, the department directors all work for the governor, and it's not that they lie to you. It's simply that they tell you the portion of the story that they want you to know. And so you're always trying to figure out how much is left untold. And that was never the case here, and that's probably what I miss the most.
Next, Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Deal. I just wanted to say a couple of us had the benefit of hearing an update from you a couple weeks ago, and super impressive then, super impressive now. I just wanted to say thank you for always doing your homework, and thank you for not being a politician but being an elected official where you actually represent the interests of the people who elected you. Thank you for taking phone calls and connecting me with people that when I talked to you about the changes going on with guardianship and our vulnerable population, and you made an immediate connection to try to work on that. I'm thankful that, you know, I don't know if you had a learning curve, because it looks to me like you came in and just knew what you were doing, you do your research, and you represent us well. So thank you for everything you do for us, for Rochester Hills, for what you did for the parks. And I mean, I know you always keep us in mind, so I don't have to say it, but thank you for always keeping us in mind.
Oh,
So
you're welcome, and thank you for those kind words. There was a learning curve, and during that time, I just tried to keep my mouth shut. So, but it's you know, like I said earlier, it's a team. I've had great staff in the 5.5 years that I've been there, and again, that experience of 8 years here learning with genuine experts in their respective fields and departments, you know, made a huge difference, and it provided not only insight, but, you know, we do things a little bit differently here than in Rochester Hills and a lot of other communities, and so it gave me a way of thinking and looking at problems and analyzing it as well. But I can tell you, you know, it's very nice. The reality is I am a politician, and there are 110 politicians in the House of Representatives, and you need to be one in order to get there. But the vast majority of the members of the House are there to do the best that they can for their district and to work with the stakeholders, the legislative advocacy groups, the interest groups like Michigan Municipal League. You brought up Michigan Home. It was actually just about a year ago, Dan Gilmartin, John Lamacchia, and I sat down at a restaurant downtown on Main Street, and Dan, who's the executive director of Michigan Municipal League, started drawing on the paper tablecloth, and then I started in, and then John Lamacchia started in, and when I was a part of the press conference that introduced the My Homes concept, and we had that grease-stained paper tablecloth with us, just as evidence of how it all kind of got started. But yeah, it was born right downtown Rochester, and you all know a lot better about how to manage your cities than we do. And what we want to do at the state level is to provide you with carrots, to provide you with incentives to consider ordinance changes and code changes that we think need to be done. But 56 votes in the House and 20 votes in the Senate is not necessarily the font of wisdom, right? So what we're trying to do with the Michigan Homes is provide some guidance and give communities incentives to incorporate some of those objectives that we think are needed.
Well, if I can just, I think Ms. Mangioli spoke very well about our position on that, and as the one who sits on planning, I think you're right, and she's right when you say that we do know what the residents, would hope for, and so long as they're just incentives and not mandates, I think, as long as they're not mandates, so that we do have the autonomy to do what the residents have elected us to do. So, but again, just thank you so much. I don't want to keep saying nice things about you because I don't want your ego to get a little crazy, but I just wanted to say you're doing a great job. Yeah, you're doing a great job, and we're really thankful for you. So
Well,
thank you for everything you do.
Thanks.
Well, once again, thank you so much for your presentation here this evening, and always over the years keeping us up to date. I had the opportunity to kind of gain a lot from your wisdom during the 2 years that we served together. It's really hard to believe that you handed this gavel over to me
that's what I was
6
thinking
years ago, and it's amazing how fast the time goes by. And now you're going into your 4th term in the House, and you've served, you've continued to serve this community well.
Yeah, thank you.
And you still rank, I'm sure, I know at least for my kids and my wife, you're still their favorite council president. So.
That's very nice. Thank you. And as I was talking earlier to Vice President Carlock, and you get elected in the first few months or so, you go, holy cow, I got to do this for 4 years. And then all of a sudden 8 years is gone. And it's just, it's amazing. But you slid right in, have done a great job. And again, I hope you all appreciate, and for the council members elect, what a great privilege this is, and what a great learning opportunity, and relationships and camaraderie that you'll carry the rest of your life.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your report this evening. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see, next up, Planning and Economic Development, item number 2025-0377, approval of the 2025 restated LDFA plans and tax capture agreement with Oakland County. Oh, the gang's all here. We got a powerhouse team up here for this one.
Mark Tisdale mentioned us, so we had to be
Yes.
next.
That's right.
Actually, I'm going to turn this over to Pam to get us started.
Yes. Oh, I got a microphone on. Yes, we like to call ourselves the LDFA Extension Team. I'm not sure what our names will be next year, but we are very excited to be back here this evening before you, asking for your official approval of the 2025 restated LDFA development and tax increment financing plans. I do want to mention a couple thank yous this evening. Thank you to LDFA board member Pete Arbor, and Greg Doyle, who joined us this evening to show support for the LDFA and for all of their hard work getting us to this point. And a very special thank you to Eric from Dickinson Wright, who has really, truly helped us get to the finish line, not just with this plan, but with securing an agreement with Oakland County that is also before your review and consideration that allows them to continue to participate and be our partner with the LDFA. So we did a full presentation back at the public hearing on September 8th, but we wanted to refresh you with just a couple highlights. Specifically, when it comes to the development plan, this is a simple 20-year extension of the LDFA. We are not proposing any changes in the boundaries. in the zoning or streets or anything like that. We are not taking over any properties or anything like that. It is a new schedule of project categories. Some of them are projects that were not completed in the first 30 years of the LDFA. But it's our plan to continue to invest in the necessary infrastructure that will allow us to support the businesses and the workforce that is there within the LDFA district. I'm actually going to turn it over to Joe to talk about the TIF elements. So.
Sure. Well, again, kind of a lot of good wins here. Kind of a little cropped out on the screen up there, but one of the biggest wins was to be able to continue with the existing base year of 1994. Contrary to the federal government, the LDFA does not have any debt, so it is debt-free, and there are no plans for debt anytime in the near future. All of our taxing jurisdictions, if they are eligible for capture, the school districts are not eligible, have elected to opt in, which is another good win. This new LDFA plan will be for an additional 20 years, estimated at $16 million coming in. And one of the big pieces of good news since we came here before you with the initial plan is Oakland County has agreed to go up to a 75% capture level. Previously, when we were here before you, they were at the 50% capture level. So this was a big, big win and great work by the entire team. Not very many LDFAs in Oakland County, only 3 have. Rochester Hills LDFA is one. And as we kind of mentioned earlier, historically, the Rochester Hills LDFA was able to collect 100% of the county's capture. They have a new policy now where that got dropped down to 50%, but there is a clause in there that we found that if the city contributes at least 3 times what the county contributes, then the county may contribute up to 75%, and we were able to give a presentation and a half, and they loved it, and they have agreed to the 75% capture level. A couple little updates with the new Oakland County plan. Both the Oakland County Parks and Transit millage are exempt. That was kind of non-negotiable. Happy to report that we did secure the 75% capture level instead of the 50% going rate. And also happy to report that the maximum total capture of $3.7 million, that's based on a 2.5% per year taxable value increase. Previously, they had a 1.5% number. Basically, that equates to approximately another $600,000 over the course of the LDFA that we'll be able to capture from the Oakland County millage. I'll turn it back to our lovely ladies.
Yes, and so just as you recall, and we were here, as Pam said, just in September, there's been a lot of steps that we have to go through to officially do this. I think the Oakland County generally plans a 6-month process, but they haven't met Pam and I. So we got it done in, I think, 6 weeks, give or take. But yeah, so tonight, hopefully with City Council approval of these updated plans, we've met all of the state statutory requirements, again, gotten all the buy-in from all the taxing agencies, and we'll be forwarding it to the states here before the end of the year, and are excited to get hard at work in 2026 doing what we're calling now LDFA 2.0. And, just as a conclusion, we've gotten tremendous support from our LDFA. I thank you to the council members that made it to some of the RISE events. The energy that Pam has created and the camaraderie and the networking between our businesses in our LDFA is really impressive. And I think that our LDFA is one to model and envy for many communities. So we're very excited for 20 more years, and we're happy to answer any more questions that you may have.
Very good. I don't see any questions from council, nor do I see any public comment. We have a motion by Mrs. Moreland, seconded by Mrs. Neubauer to approve. Now it's resolved that the City Council hereby approves the tax sharing agreement and authorizes the execution and delivery of the tax sharing agreement by the mayor. The 2025 restated plan as presented by to the City Council constitutes a public purpose, and the council specifically finds the numerous findings contained in your packet, and the city approves the 2025 restated plan. And number 4, all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith shall be and the same are hereby rescinded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for your support.
Next up, item number 2025-0450, request for conditional use approval for alcohol beverage sales for the on-site consumption that is ancillary to an otherwise permissible use cafe restaurant for the Highland Room located within unit number 1 of the newly constructed Gerald Building on the north-south side of Auburn and west of DeQuinder, zoned BD Brooklands District, formerly 1760 East Auburn. Mike Chowdhury of Highland Room RH LLC, applicant. Mr. McLeod.
Thank you, President Deal, Vice President Carlock, Mayor Barnett, rest of the City Council. You had the Planning A team, and I got the Planning B team to present this one. But no, before you tonight is the conditional use request for the Highland Room. We have Hassan here, who is going to be the general operating manager of the local facility here, should it move forward. So. Just to kind of give you a little bit of context, obviously down in the newly constructed Gerald Building, unfortunately the Google aerials haven't been updated. We'll give you an updated aerial here in just 1 second, but this particular gives you the context of where this sits relative to the surrounding environment. So basically the entire Auburn stretch zoned and planned for Brooklands District. The only residential property abutting this is directly to the south, obviously separated by the alley and the fence that the city put in as part of the overall Auburn Road Brooklands construction. But other than that, the actual unit itself is in this far left corner. When we get into the building design, you'll see that in just 1 second. Flipping the script and looking at it in a different direction, looking in a southerly direction, you can see where that house sits relative to this. Again, that tenant space is going to sit towards front. So any impacts from a conditional use of this nature should be fully negated by the separation and the distance between what's going on within the proposed Highland Room in terms of a sort of entertainment and as well as any sort of alcohol sales going on in that particular tenant space. But otherwise, the surrounding commercial and environment and at each and every direction. This provides you a little bit better concentration of where the building sits relative to the site. Again, that behind the building itself to the south is parking. Building sits up on the roadway frontage. I'm sure all of you are aware of it. We'll get to some additional pictures here in one moment. But again, that tenant space in the far western side. So this is the overall floor plan being provided by the applicants. Right now, seating and capacity shown is about 33 people in terms of seats, in addition to any additional standing room. Operation hours are generally defined as 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. It is noted that the actual alcohol sales being proposed as part of the operation of this would basically start around 4 p.m. So in the morning and / afternoon, early afternoon hours, this would act as a true cafe in terms of breakfast and light food offerings during their earlier hours, and then transition into the alcohol sales as well as the food offerings. And I'll let Hassan go into that a little bit more if you'd like to in terms of the operation going forward. But again, alcohol sales would only be generally between the hours of 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. In terms of overall parking, the parking district, the parking calculations for the Brooklands district are an overall 1 per 400 square feet, regardless of use. So regardless of what the tenant space is, whether it's retail sales or if it's alcohol sales or if it's a general office use, all the parking is the same. So parking has been accommodated for within the overall site plan as currently being developed, as well as within the city lots that surround this. In terms of the application itself for the liquor license, again, that's a separate item, but as part of the conditional use, we do take that into consideration. The applicant was originally seeking a quota license that was heard by the committee. The committee did forward a recommendation, which you'd anticipate you would act on next. And that recommendation was for denial of the quota license, but we do encourage the applicant to seek a traditional license and an attempt to bring that into the city as well. I do want to note that the overall tenant space here is about 1,260 square feet, so a relatively small space. So we're not talking a significant tenant space or overall operation. A little bit more updated photo of, again, this is that front corner of the building where the Highland Room will be located. And again, you can see relative to the surrounding environment, there should be no anticipated impacts from the operation of this. And as of right now, there is no outdoor operation, no outdoor seating as part of the use as well. So with that, I'll be more than glad to answer any questions that council may have.
Very good. First up, we have Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Deal. So I'm trying to recall from planning, I thought that if the quota license was denied, the applicant was not going to serve alcohol at this location. And in fact, if I recall, that if he was to purchase a license, he was going to use it for the Wayne State location. So I'm kind of confused as to what's happening.
So, and I'll let Hassan speak to this further, but from our perspective, the conditional use and the liquor license are obviously two different elements. One's coming from the planning side, one's coming from the liquor license committee. But when we contacted the representatives of the Highland Room and asked them if they wanted to continue to move forward pending with the outcome that came out of the committee, they said they did want to come forward with the conditional use request. That will still give them options if they choose to bring in their own license. But again, you're correct. At the meeting itself, Mr. Chowdhury did indicate that it would be unlikely that they would move forward with the use should the quota license be denied. But when we circled back with him after the meeting and after the liquor committee, he did indicate he still wanted to continue to come forward, most likely, obviously, to keep his options open.
So I guess my question would be, because just procedurally, it was a condition of planning that the license be granted in order for that approval to be, and now here we are on this approval. So would it come back to planning, or it would just come here and this would like kind of thwart the process?
So again, two separate items, one being the
Right.
conditional use, one being the liquor license itself. It doesn't necessarily say that, obviously until they get a liquor license as approved by city council, the liquor aspect of this is going to go nowhere. And operating as a general restaurant, if they even chose to do that outside of liquor sales or alcohol sales, that's a permissible use within the district.
Right, so I don't understand, that's what I'm saying. Based on the information we received at planning, I don't understand what we're doing here. If he doesn't have the liquor license from the city, no quota license, and he still hasn't been able to acquire the other one, and like I said, the information provided to us at planning was that if he did get one, it would be going to the Wayne State location. So I guess maybe if the applicant can clarify, I'm just a little bit, the way when information is presented to us, we base our votes and the way we proceed based on the information presented to us. When things are revised, we ask them them to be revised in writing, and then you come back to the original committee and reapply and redo it that way. So I don't know how we got such a drastic change in information, and then we're here today. So if you could just help me understand what your plans are.
So we have decided to go ahead with this application again, and for the conditional use on this location, just to keep our options open.
Okay, I guess I would be more comfortable if it had gone back to planning than to do it this way, for us to vote on something that we don't have all the information for, because we keep getting different information. For me, I'm uncomfortable moving forward with this when we were told different things about different licenses and different locations. So I'm not comfortable with this at this point. I would have rather it came back to planning.
Sure. And President Deal, if I could maybe reframe the conversation. So again, from conditional use aspect, you're looking at what are the potential, does the overall use fit within the context of the environment? Does the use cause any potential negative impacts to the surrounding environment? Whether that's a quota license or a license that is brought in from the general outside is immaterial in that conversation. That's more of a liquor license committee, potentially your next vote, whether or not that is something that you either vote up or vote down. The conditional use should be basically regardless of whether or not or where that license is coming from.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that I feel like the information provided to us was not accurate. So we voted based on information that we received in planning, and now we're asked to vote on different kind of information without it being proposed to us in writing, I guess. Maybe it's the lawyer in me. I just don't see how that happened, so I don't know. That's what I'm just saying. I understand what we're voting for on the use, whether he gets the license or not. But the way we've always, even when we vote for something in planning, we always ask for the application to be revised and updated before it gets to city council so that we do have all the information. So I'm a little bit hung up on that, but I mean, that's all I have. Someone else can jump in, but.
So to Mrs. Neubauer's point, you know, whether we issued a quota license or he had purchased a Class C license and brought it in, it would be the same license. The license would not, the nature of the license would not change. Really and truly, our scoring of the quota license has really nothing to do with the nature and character, because that's really within the purview of the Planning Commission. When we looked at the applicant was, you know, really I mean, if he were transferring in a license, it'd be an easy yes. The only reason that we couldn't do the conditional or the quota license is just because we have a little bit more stringent requirements from more of a kind of how we use them as an economic development tool, you know, so to speak, is more. So really to me, the nature of the license, whether he got it as a quota or whether he got it as a transfer in, was immaterial to, you know, because he would have been an excellent candidate. I suppose, because to me, however if he wishes to bring in a license to this establishment, he would need to pass this step. So he would need to have this conditional use, and that would assist him in, you know, making his application. He would, I think, at this point have to reapply to our liquor license committee for a transfer in license, but I think that would be a much different question than the one that we were tasked with, which was really, our rubric really deals with things like, do you have what's the economic advantage to the city? You know, is this a big footprint? Is this a unique offering that we don't have elsewhere in the city? Our considerations are a little different in that regard. And by having this approval, it will allow him to come back before the liquor license committee and transfer in a license if he'd wish. That's just how I see it. But Mrs. Moreland.
Thank you, President Deal. So as it stands right now, if you were to open this, it would be liquor-free. Am I understanding that? There is no liquor license at this point, so it would just be the cafe, restaurant. Am I clear on this?
Yes.
So again, keep it in mind that the conditional use is valid for up to a year. So anytime during that year, the applicant could bring forward to City Council the ability to bring in request for an approval to bring in a Class C license. So at that point, the Liquor Committee would reconvene to determine whether that should be brought into the city or not, and making sure that it still operates under the same terms and conditions if this conditional use was ultimately granted here tonight. Because again, the conditional use deals solely with how the use itself, again, irregardless of the licensure, how that use fits within the context of the building, how it fits within the context of the surrounding property, how it fits within the context of the city. But to go back to your question directly, if they wanted to open tomorrow as a cafe or a restaurant, either or a combination thereof, without liquor, they would have every right to do it. They would obviously have to go through their appropriate building permits, county health permits, those kinds of things. But that is completely and totally a permissible use, and they could make that decision and then ultimately bring in liquor at some other point in the future and pursue the approvals at that time if they wanted to.
And then they would still come back before council, right? It would go through the liquor license committee again and then come back before council.
Correct. Any transfer of license within the city is required to come before the Liquor Control Committee and as well as City Council.
So is that an interest to open? Is that what you're thinking, is opening it without alcohol? Or is that something you don't want to do?
We are open to both options. We're looking into it right now, but like Mr. Chris said, we can open a cafe restaurant, and later on down the road we can start apply for the liquor license again.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Blair. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is Mangioli. Got my numbers
Thank you.
transposed.
You're not allowed to make a mistake in your last
I know.
night here. Okay. So having read through the minutes, my questions on outdoor dining and a lot of those things were covered. How much does bringing in a license cost? What is the average cost of a liquor license these days?
Do you have a note accurate?
No, Mr. Chaudhry.
I mean, I thought 50 to 60,000.
I think that's probably on the right end.
Closer to 70, but yeah.
70,000.
Yep.
And so with a capacity of 35 people in the cafe, with maybe some standing, it's profitable to bring in a license at that cost with that number of people in the restaurant?
Well, ultimately, that's a discussion item for the applicant themselves. I mean, whether they find, and then obviously that's why, part of the reason why they said that the quota license was desirable. And everyone's going to say that, right? Everyone's going to want a license free to them if it's available. It always helps with the numbers. But ultimately, the applicant is going to need to sit down and pencil out their numbers and say, realistically, does it pencil out? What's the rate of return and what's the length of return? And that's for them to decide. And, again, I think from the conditional use aspect, you're looking at the impacts. The Liquor Control Committee is ultimately going to be the one that's going to determine whether or not that license should come into the city and whether it's viable. Can they make it happen at this square footage and this number of people? They probably could. I mean, they're going to be really successful. I mean, but I'm not a restaurateur and I'm not a cafe owner. I mean, so I don't know that business, but it's an opportunity for them to potentially bring in a new business within the Brooklands area. And again, it's within degrees. You have to question. You have to say yes. The applicant has vetted their numbers and they feel that they can make it work. And that's probably to some degree why Mr. Chaudhry was originally saying, I'm not sure I want to move forward with this, because maybe the numbers are close, but ultimately that's for them to determine how accurate that is and how close that line may be.
And with a liquor license, are we allowed to restrict the hours for alcohol sale if that license is brought in?
I think part of the conditional use, you could do that. You cannot truly condition a liquor license themselves. That's part of the reason why the city transferred into a conditional use to kind of pair them together. Because if you felt that the hours of operation was something that was paramount, for instance, in terms of approval or denial, that's where you would tack it on, is through the conditional use condition.
Because at some point, if the license has no restriction on the hours, then suddenly that 8 o'clock in the morning breakfast crowd could also be mimosas and Bloody Marys, and we would have no control or say in that piece. Not that we would anyway, but.
Yeah, but as part of the conditional use, again, if City Council ultimately decides to move this forward, there is some reliance upon what has been presented to you as well as to the Planning Commission through the meetings. So if all of a sudden it is a crazy alcohol scene at 8 o'clock in the morning on a daily basis, I think the city would have some standing to go in and say, look, this is not what was presented. I would even go one step further, that if that is something that is absolutely critical to your decision-making, that times of operation or times of service are that critical to it, I would put it right into the motion as a condition, not just rely on the record. I would simply just make it part of your motion and conditions.
Okay. And what is the overall, I mean, there's seating for 30, but what did the fire department say the overall capacity of that building is, given the square footage and a bar and tables?
Yeah, to this point, we don't have that actual number. I mean, that requires, once they get into the building permit process, they'll establish a certificate of occupancy as well as an overall a number of occupants. Realistically speaking, I wouldn't be surprised if that number could double. I mean, but again, that's assuming that there's a lot of people standing in that kind of environment. Based on what we've seen from the applicant and the conversations with the applicant, I wouldn't anticipate this sort of operation being one where you're going to have a number of people standing around. But again, that's reliant upon the information that's been presented to this point. But typically the occupancies that the building code would allow is much higher than what either a seating plan, or based on what a seating plan's been presented, so.
And which is better for the applicant? A take no action, like just not move this tonight and take no action, or a denial if council denies versus a say yes? So if on the record for the statewide Liquor Control Commission, is it better to have him come back in 6 months when he wants to bring in the license because there won't be a denial on the record?
I mean, I don't want to speak for the applicant, but just from in terms of our process, if that conditional use gets denied, then he has a waiting period before they can come back with the same application. The application would have to change.
And how long is that waiting period?
year.
A year?
Yep.
Okay. So if council takes no action tonight, then he can come back in December and say, hey, bought a license from Mount Clemens and I'm bringing it in here and we're good.
Yeah, again, I always worry when we're kind of viewing these together as one application, because again, they are separate applications. But in regards to the conditional use, traditionally this council has operated that they've approved or denied them sequentially in the same meeting. But there's nothing saying that they can't be split apart. But you know, if that's council's desire is ultimately to wait and see if a liquor license comes. Obviously, that's council's desire.
So does he need the conditional use in order to buy the license from some other community?
Does not.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for wanting to do business here in Rochester Hills. A lot of questions for us to understand this process, so I appreciate your patience with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Interestingly, I just wanted to point out that the liquor license, if he were to transfer in a liquor license, those licenses are transferable. And generally, unlike pots, pans, or other equipment that depreciate in value, liquor licenses generally hold their value. So if he buys a liquor license at, let's say $70,000, generally the market for a liquor license, in my understanding of it, has only gone up. And so generally, the liquor license isn't just a cost. The liquor license is also an asset that is held by the business, because it can, if the business for some reason fails or what have you, it can be transferred. It can be transferred to another owner, and then as with the approval of the liquor license, it would also could make the business and the property a little bit more valuable. So there are good reasons why the applicant might want to simply purchase one and then bring it in, even with the expense being what it is. But then to the other point, to maybe ease council's minds, is that if they did transfer a license, because the way that the liquor license committee took action on this, if they did transfer, if we were to approve this conditional use this evening, and they were to, at a later point in time, transfer in a liquor license, this body would be taking another look at the approval of the license. So it would go in front of the liquor license committee, which is made up of about 2 or 3 council members, and then it would come forward to this body, and this body would have another pass at the approval of the transfer into the liquor license. So even if we were to, really what we do here, if we, as I see it, if we approve the conditional uses, that we kind of honor the determination of the Planning Commission to allow this conditional use. And then, like I say, if council has any reservations about the nature of the transfer in license versus a quota license, the council would get another pass at it through the liquor license committee and the council itself. But we do have some other comments. Mr. Blair.
Thank you, President Deal. I'm second Councilwoman Mangioli's thanks for doing business in our city. We appreciate the investment. It's great to see the Brooklands corridor come alive with investment and new businesses. This has been a great discussion. Councilwoman Neubauer, I appreciate and understand your concerns about how what was presented to planning might have shifted, and I understand why that might be frustrating, or maybe you feel like you were maybe surprised with that. That's totally valid. Councilwoman Mangioli, I appreciate the question that you asked, which reminded us that they have a 1-year waiting period if we do deny them. And Chris, thank you for trying to rightfully separate the two issues, the liquor license and the conditional use. We tend to meld those together, but in reality, they should be approached separately. And the way we do that is by returning to the criteria, which are largely about neighborhood impact. I do not see a way that this liquor license, this conditional use, rather, for this location could negatively impact the surrounding area. I think that is rock solid. So for that reason, I have absolutely no issue with approving the conditional use to give this business owner options. Certainly, you're not going to have a place that's has 900 square feet of customer area. It's not going to transform into a nightclub of some sort. It's going to remain a small, low-key operation because of the way it's designed. So I really have zero concern about, them serving liquor in the morning, and I don't think that that's going to be their intention. I don't think they could even pull it off with a venue like this. So I will be voting in favor of this. And again, I appreciate you investing in our city, and I wish you the best of success when you open.
Thank you.
Let's see, we have Mrs. Neubauer.
I just have another question. Thank you, President Deal. Were the corrections that we asked to be made on the application made?
Yes, they were.
Okay, so the owner is corrected and the addresses and all that kind of stuff?
Addresses, correct, yes.
Okay, and the representations that were made in planning is that if a liquor license came in, it would not start serving alcohol till 4 o'clock. Is that correct?
The liquor sales will start after like 4 o'clock.
So if we added an additional condition that liquor sales would not begin until 4 o'clock,
Yes.
just like you stated at planning, would you be fine with that?
Yes.
Okay. Because like I stated, things that were said at planning were not said here, and now things are a little bit different, and I am kind of a paper nerd, so I want what was said to match what's on paper. So if we added an additional condition that liquor sales would not start until 4 o'clock, is that okay with you? Hold on a second, please. Okay. Okay, so let me ask the applicant. If we added that condition, and then you came in and knowing that if you got a liquor license, it would go to that committee and then come back to us again, would you be fine with that as your new motion rather than a stay, which would allow you time to go get your liquor license and then come back here at any point in time rather than a denial? I guess I'm giving you three options. You can have your denial, you can have a motion to stay, which would allow you to get your liquor license, come back, and we'd hash it out, or you could agree to start serving alcohol at 4 and end it at, what time is your business close? 11, so it'd be 10, an hour before closing?
Yeah.
So that's fine? So which one would you prefer? The 4 to 10?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then that's my motion.
So you're at.
And we have a second from Mr. Blair.
He wrote it, I think Ryan wrote it. Did you get the wording for that, President Deal?
Yeah, I think I got it. All right. Do we have any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, seeing no public comment on this item, resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby approves the conditional use for the Highland Room to allow sales for on-premises alcoholic beverage consumption associated with the restaurant cafe located at 1760 Auburn, Unit Number 1, within the Gerald Building, based on the documents received by the Planning Department on September 18th, 2025, with the 6 findings as they appear in your packet, and 2 conditions, 1 being the condition that appears in your packet, and 2 being that alcohol sales will commence at 4 p.m. through 10 p.m. daily. Very good. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Next up is Item number, yes, yeah, don't go anywhere. Item number 2025-0476, request for a new from quota Class C liquor license from DMC Consultants, DBA, The Highland Room LLC, to be located at 1760 East Auburn Road. Ms. Scott.
And thank you,
Clerk Scott.
President Deal, Vice President Carlock, City Council, and Mayor Barnett. As mentioned, the applicant came to the October 27th Liquor License Technical Review Committee, where the committee reviewed the application materials, spoke with the applicant, and ultimately decided to recommend denial of the city's quota Class C license to the MLCC. So as such, that is the resolution in your package to deny it.
Yes.
Does any of the committee members want to add to that?
We'll start with Councilman Walker.
Thank you, President Deal. Just a refresher on the quota license. Back in 2020, the census was done. The City of Rochester Hills was issued 4 quota licenses, and these quota licenses were based on the population at the time. 2 of the quota licenses have been given out to appropriate businesses within our community. We have 2 left, and we won't be reevaluated until the 2030 census, and we may or may not receive any more. So it's a coveted quota license, which is given to a very unique business in our community. And we developed a matrix in order to score those businesses so that we were able to do that fairly. And when we put this applicant through the matrix, unfortunately, they did not score very well. So that's why the Liquor License Technical Review Committee denied the applicant for one of these coveted quota licenses. But it doesn't mean that without conditional use, you can go and acquire a liquor license from elsewhere within the state of Michigan. That's not what we're trying to accomplish. We just thought this coveted quota license that we cherish was not something that we would bestow upon you. So the liquor license unanimously denied issuing a quota license to this applicant.
Correct. Yeah,
So-
yes.
So I would move to approve the denial as presented in the package.
Motion by Mr. Walker, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. Yeah, just to piggyback on what Councilman Walker indicated, that, the determination for quota licenses are determined by the decennial censuses. Sometimes you get quota licenses. Sometimes you don't. And in fact, there's even, in the rare case, they actually have taken away a quota license from us, as they readjust these things. So, it's not a guarantee that even in 10 years we'll get another quota license, or with the next census. So we as Councilman Walker pointed out, we created a matrix, a scoring matrix by which we use. The scoring matrix is primarily more along the lines of economic development, things that we as a city value, that we want to basically entice these types of businesses to come in. And some of it, much of it, is based on the economic impact that that business will leave in the city. So really and truly, the denial of a quota license says very little about, the quality or value of the business itself. It really says more about our priorities as a city. That's really all. But we do have a motion by Councilman Walker, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. I will read the resolution, seeing no public comment. Resolved that the request from DMC Consultants, DBA, The Highland Room LLC, for a new from quota Class C liquor license to be located at 1760 East Auburn Road, Rochester Hills, Michigan, Oakland County, Michigan, be considered for denial by the Liquor Control Commission. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. We wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much, and welcome to the city. Next up, we have item number 2025-0449, request for adoption of the 2025 Master Land Use Plan update.
Good evening,
Mrs.
President
Roediger.
Deal, Vice President Carlock, Council, Mayor Barnett. We'll try to go through this pretty quickly. I know it's already getting a little bit late, but we're here obviously with our team led by Jill Boehm. We also have Julia in the audience as well from Giffords Webster. Almost 2 years in the making, and we're at the finish line. And like I said, Jill has a quick presentation that she'll kind of go over the highlights. And we're hoping for your encouragement and adoption of the plan here this evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Council President Deal, members of council. It's very nice that our timing aligned with the end of the term, that we have our full complement of city council that we started this process with 2 years ago. So we're pleased for that. Let me switch to slideshow. There we go. And again, this will be rather quick. Just wanting to hit the highlight. I know we have a couple of new members of council in the audience. We have some members of the public here. So it's helpful to give a little foundation for what the master plan is. The master plan is our blueprint for the city's future. It guides land use, growth, and improvements. It's developed in an ideal situation, and here in this process for the city of Rochester Hills with a significant amount of public engagement and analysis. The master plan sets the community's goal for housing, transportation, public spaces, sustainability, and it will guide city policy, zoning, budgeting. And to be clear, it is not the rule of law, but it does inform our zoning ordinance and our zoning map, which is the rule of law. It's essential for us to do this kind of long-range planning to protect our essential services, guide responsible land use, and foster trusted, predictable development. So we have this adoption process. The Michigan Planning Enabling Act provides for the Planning Commission actually to prepare and adopt the city's master plan, but there's also provisions for City Council to adopt the master plan as well. We like that process of having the Planning Commission and City Council adopt together, as it creates a joint vision for the future, and it kind of sets us up on the path for implementation. We're all on the same page. We did this in 2018, and I think it worked out really nicely in terms of the implementation and the things that the city was able to accomplish after that last plan. Makes the master plan the official tool for all future decisions for things like our conditional uses, for rezoning questions, ensures growth aligns with community values and goals. We know how important that is. Follows Planning Commission review and public input for well-rounded adoption. And I think it also strengthens trust, promotes smart investment, and coordinates citywide improvements. And one of the features as we go through this slideshow real quick, one of the highlights of this master plan is that it does incorporate the plans that you have done previous to this. So it includes your thoroughfare plan, for example, your recreation plan. The idea is that all of these things would be put in one place for you to help you make not only land use decisions, but also guide capital improvement planning as well. So the 2025 master plan process reaffirms the direction set in 2018, focuses on preserving the existing character of the city, prepared again with significant input, presented uniquely in an online format that allows users to engage with the maps and text the way they choose. So it's kind of well, it isn't a hybrid. It's really two things. It's an online plan, and it is available as a PDF for those who wish a more traditional approach. They'd like to settle in with a nice cup of tea and read through the whole document. They are able to do so. And we encourage that. However you would like to go through the master plan, the idea here is that we're providing vehicles for that. The plan also is unique this time in its creation of planning neighborhoods. We thought at the beginning of the process, how do we get people interested in long-range planning? Sometimes it's very abstract, even though the city's a good-sized city, but sometimes it's really far from one corner of the city to the other opposite corner of the city, and that may not make that much difference to people if they live in one area. So we thought about this idea of creating the planning neighborhoods. And while you have a lot of subdivisions and neighborhoods in the city, that seemed overwhelming. Kind of thinking it a little bit like a hybrid of that, thinking about the high school districts as an identifiable boundary district. We were able to use the mascots and the colors to help people identify with, oh yes, that's where I'm at. I'm in the Stony Creek area. We did divide the Rochester High district into the high school into the two, east and west. And following that comment that we had from the joint meeting, we did make sure that we were clear that that's Rochester Hills, east and west, just to make sure that people understand that we are talking about the city. The master plan update process does focus on 5 main components: housing, economic development, transportation and mobility, preservation and sustainability, and community amenities. And again, it coordinates with the city's other long-range plans to cross-reference all the action strategies in one comprehensive tool for implementation. Our plan themes are that the plan and the planning process, age-friendly, sustainable, and innovative. And so we use those during each phase of the master plan update to ensure that we had alignment and guide our discussions with Planning Commission and with staff. So the plan vision, we've named it Timeless Tradition. The plan seeks to maintain stability in a suburban lifestyle. Single-family housing remains the main housing type. Strengthens pedestrian connectivity. Walkability was one of the things that really jumped out at us this time as compared to the planning process in 2018. And so we've really highlighted that in this document, as well as preserving natural resources. Those are very key. Those last 2 things are very key. Well, actually, all of those things are key. So how does that translate with our themes? To be age-friendly, we're supporting aging in place and aging in community by adapting housing, improving parks, making city streets and sidewalks more walkable. Sustainability, we're preserving open spaces, improving infrastructure with green techniques, and being innovative as we strive to improve transparency and decision-making and making ordinances and review processes easier to understand and follow. And those will be things that we do to follow. And those are just a couple of the things. Community engagement, we were really pleased with the turnout and the participation of the community. We had over 2,000 participants providing feedback and insight in some fashion. We had people coming in person to meetings. We had small group focus groups. We had a couple of surveys. We had 5 different phases of the process that started in 2024. And again, our feedback that we heard focused on really increasing walkability and safety of pedestrians, preserving natural features and open spaces, focusing on single-family housing, and maintaining stability and a high level of satisfaction for residents. So when we think about future land use, the future land use map is the way the city illustrates the intended land uses. And again, it's different from zoning and its related zoning ordinance, which is legally binding. The future land use map is our guidepost for the future. There are no changes to the planned residential densities that we showed in the 2018 master plan. And one of the changes, probably the biggest change that you would see in the 2025 future land use map is the consolidation of categories. And as you'll recall, through our process from the last couple of years with the zoning ordinance districts and the consolidation of those, really striving to make it easier for people to understand what the future land use map shows, what the categories are, in a way that can be easily understood and still providing guidance. So you'll see fewer categories here. One of the things that we thought was helpful too is to change from a numbering system for the residential to call those, make the names a little bit more descriptive. So open space, suburban, and neighborhood residential, and then the other land use categories as well. When you go on the online platform, the parcels that are outlined in red, you'll see what those changes were. Mostly those are changes that were geared to reflect what was existing and the built environment conditions there. Again, this is the alignment that shows the 2018 master plan categories with the 2025 categories. We're also aligning this with the changes to the non-residential zoning districts that had been done over the last few years, as well as the FB districts. You know, we have our planning neighborhoods. We kind of talked about that already. The plan highlights the housing plan chapter is very clear that it preserves the pattern of existing neighborhoods. It does allow for clustered or attached homes consistent with the existing residential density of adjacent neighborhoods, ensuring that infill and redeveloped residential properties are compatible with surrounding area and adjacent parcels in terms of density, architectural style, and building materials, and promotes the inclusion of neighborhood parks and gathering spaces within each residential development. This all goes to the concerns that we've heard regarding compatibility of new development and wanting to make sure that that is clear in both planning and will guide zoning and design standard improvements. The cluster concept that's shown on the right of the screen shows just another opportunity, another style of housing. This doesn't say that these things would be taking place on major thoroughfares, but it's an example. If you had 6 lots today in the traditional layout, you could build 6 homes. But with a cluster, there's a possibility that you could arrange those 6 units in a different way that maybe can give you a different type of housing, or preserving some of the special features on those properties. So it's just another tool to provide some flexibility to see if there are different housing types that can be made available and preserving some of those special features. Additional highlights of the plan include providing for design standards. This is a subsequent project to the master plan. Strengthening placemaking and community identity, and gateways and streetscapes master plan, continuing to implement the recommendations of that. The transportation master plan and the pathways plan informed the recommendations and action items regarding connectivity and safety. The preservation of natural features, focused on the natural features inventory and continuing to preserve open spaces. And historic preservations was something that wasn't specifically included in the 2018 plan, but it's brought back in a way that helps reinforce the character of the city and the culture and the history of the city, and be able to continue preserving that for future generations. And that's the wrap up for the presentation. Next steps, City Council considering the adoption of the master plan, and then just a note that we're not finished because now we can start implementing the master plan. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We do have some council member comments this evening. We'll start with let's see, Mrs. Neubauer.
Thank you, President Deal. This has been a very, very long process with a lot of steps. You mentioned you worked very hard in making sure the community was engaged in this, reaching out to the homeowners associations, all the things that you guys did. The planning department, Sarah and Chris, Ms. Roediger and Mr. McLeod are amazing. You know, the original plan that was presented to us was much different than this, but you know, the mayor has said this before, when it's not broken, don't try to fix it. Rochester Hills is an amazing place to work and live, and keeping it as traditional as possible was the feedback we received on working in this, and I think it's pretty laid out that way in the master plan. So thank you for working so hard, making the changes, going through all of the meetings and lots of the feedback that was received. So that was a lot of work, and you guys did a good job bringing it this far. And also the way that you presented it, I think you said, weren't you guys going to submit it for some awards and recognition?
We plan to.
Yeah, I think that, you know, even the integrative things that you guys have done, you represented us well with the hard work that you guys put into this. So thank you so much. Thank you to the Planning Commission and the commissioners there, my co-commissioners that worked tirelessly on this. So it was a very, very long road, lots and lots of hours, but it's reflected in this plan. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to move the resolution in the packet.
Very good. Motion by Mrs. Neubauer, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. Next up, Mrs. Mangioli.
Thank you, President Deal. So I get to ask you one more time. Can I please have my questions that I
Yes.
submitted in advance added to the record for
Absolutely.
tonight? So
They will
thank
be
you
in
very
the
much for
minutes.
that. And I want to thank Ms. Roediger for pages and pages of answers back to my pages of questions. So Mr. McLeod, too, thank you very much for that. I love the blue font so I can figure out what's new information in here. So thank you very much. So I do have a couple of follow-up questions. There, I had noted there were some links not there and pictures. That will be updated on the
Yes.
live document online?
Right. He said part of what was presented here is a lot of the PDF, but the website is very interactive. And so once it's all finalized and on the resolutions, then we'll do the final PDF and links and all the things will work.
Because I am the person that downloads the
I know, and we
PDF,
appreciate
and
that.
I
Thank you.
and I printed pages from it, and so that's where the comment where these column headings are missing
totally got
on
that.
subsequent pages.
Yep.
I had to keep going back and forth to
I
figure
don't like
out.
that either. I get that.
Yes, so
Well,
thank
that's
you very
definitely
much
gonna
for
be
doing
fixed.
that. I now have it bookmarked on my computer so I can go back to it. So thank you for that. And I know tonight we're approving the plan, but it is now we get to implement the plan. And so that's where the answers to my question on what do we need the ordinances that need to change. And there's requirements for developments to implement the improvements and design elements within the city's streetscape master plan, update the architectural design guidelines, which you said we're going to now go for an RFP to go and have that done. Change the architectural guidelines for the city's historic districts, allow some residential units to be attached when directly abutting a major thoroughfare when the density is not increased. Create the minimum residential unit sizes within the FB overall district, update the site planning standards and conditional use standards, and then refine ordinances guiding commercial renovation, rehabilitation, and redevelopment. That was one of my comments was on the, heck, I know, I'm not giving you any loans or incentives. If the state, I see Mr. Wright is still here, if the state wants to make it available, and I have to leave those words in here so that a business can take advantage of them, but that is something I'm not a big fan of, tax incentives. I'd rather see them for the senior citizens who need to maintain their homes and be able to age in place than to give it to a business to come into our community. So again, thank you for all the work. It was interesting to go through and read everything. I do admit, I got to like page 80, 90 somewhere, and then I skipped over a lot of the neighborhood things and then went to the implementation plan. So I'll be interested to see when the execution of the master plan will start and what our next steps will be on that. So thank you very much for all the work that's been done to make this happen. And for the residents, if you're wondering, it is on our website. Please take a look at the master plan because these are the things that will be guiding a lot of the decisions or a lot of the work for the council over the next couple of years. So again, thank you for all of this.
Thank you.
Very good. I don't see any further discussion or public comment on this item. We have a motion by Mrs. Newbar, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. Now therefore be it resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby adopts this master plan for the city along with the texts, maps, charts, graphs, and other descriptive materials contained in the plan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there anyone opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you very much. Let's see, and that brings us to public comment for items not on the agenda. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to make public comment on any item that is not on the agenda. I don't have any blue public comment cards. I don't see anybody looking like they want to jump up to the podium or come on up, so I'm going to go ahead and close public comment for items not on the agenda, and that moves us on to the consent agenda. All matters under the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion. If any council member or citizen requests discussion of an item, it'll be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion. I've not been made aware of any requests to modify or alter the consent agenda. We have a motion by Vice President Carlock, seconded by Mrs. Moreland, to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor of approval of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Are there anybody opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. And that moves us on to legislative and administrative comments. So I hate to belabor the meeting, but it is my last one, so I'm allowed to do that. I do have some legislative and administrative comments this evening. Tonight, as everybody knows, this is my last meeting and city council, and it has been a distinct privilege and joy to serve the city that I've loved so much. When my wife and I moved here, oh my gosh, now it was over 23 years ago or 24 years ago, we were looking for a place to start our family. And Rochester Hills checked every single one of those boxes. And more so than checking boxes, it became home to us. I brought my kids home, but twins home from the hospital to our home here in Rochester Hills. We didn't expect to expand our family by double in one day, but when we did, we realized that home became a little bit cramped for us, and we moved less than a mile away within the city, not even outside of our council district, just to a bigger home. And we always enjoy our time here. And there are two categories of reasons that people will run for city council. Either number one, they want to be a change agent, or two, they want to be a part of something that's already amazing. I was the latter. I was always a fan of the things that we were doing here, and just wanted to really be a part of it. With every city council member here knows, everybody on this dais knows, that it's not just you that gets elected when you do this, it's your entire family. And I really have to thank and acknowledge my family for the last 8 years and everything that they've put up with, all the meetings, all the not just the council meetings, but the committee meetings and all the public engagements. And Jack, you've attended more than your fair share of ribbon cuttings. He can probably recite a ribbon cutting better than anybody. He knows Councilman Walker's routine at a ribbon cutting pretty well. But to give you some concept of how long they've been at this, they were in the 3rd grade. Jack is now almost as tall as me. He's about ready to, he's a junior in high school, and he's been at this since the 3rd grade. He and his brother have stood out at polls. They've gone door to door for myself, Councilman Walker, Mayor Barnett, David Blair. You guys didn't have elections, so they didn't have to go door to door for you guys. But they've done it all, and they've done it in all weather, and they've done it more or less with a smile on their face. Jack is here tonight straight off of Jack's goal in life is to be a doctor, and he's well on his way. He's fresh off of his victory at the Occupation Students of America competition, coming in first place in the region. Brennan, who really doesn't really like the limelight, didn't want to be here so bad. He decided to give himself a pneumothorax and had basically collapsed lung, had lung surgery. So that's where he is tonight. But he's a fantastic kid. He is well on his way. He's an accomplished guitar, bass, violin, and piano player. He's been there with me every step of the way. He's a great kid, and he's academically talented. And I hope that I have, as my kids have grown up, served as an example of what a public servant should look like and what public service should look like. To my wife, Melinda, she is the absolute love of my life. We were 2 young kids when we met at Michigan State University. We were teenagers. I met her in the absolute nerdiest way possible. I saw her in class at MSU. every day had a habit of going to the drinking fountain outside of our classroom. Every day she would go to the drinking fountain, she would flip her hair, and I was completely entranced ever since. And we've been inseparable ever since, and she is not only, my partner in life, she is my absolute best friend, and now has the distinction of being the lone elected official in the household. She's still the library board vice president, so she's still elected. To everyone here at all the employees here at the City of Rochester Hills, you all are absolutely phenomenal. And for the new council members here, you're going to go through this orientation and you're going to meet all the department heads if you haven't already. And you will immediately be taken aback by the level of talent that is assembled in this city. And when you think back and you wonder, what is it that makes this city so great? These people who work every day at the top of their field are just incredible. And the longevity, everybody's here. Not only that, but everybody here seems to really enjoy coming into work here. They all, you walk in, they all have smiles on their faces. They're all friendly, in addition to being, such consummate professionals. And I count so many of you, as friends. I've gotten to know all of you, Sarah Roediger, Chief Gary, Pam, if she's not here. I didn't get a chance to, I've always wanted to get a Pam roast, but I didn't get roasted by Pam tonight. She usually reserves that for the mayor at his mayor's business council meetings. Joe Snyder, the best CFO. We have a wall full of plaques over there with all of the awards for our budgeting. Lori Taylor and Karen Somerville over in assessing. Ken, absolute best with parks. And boy, oh boy, have we punished that guy because we have just kept him so busy since I've been on this council. Rochelle Lyon over in MIS. Chris, is Chris still here? I don't know if Chris is still here, but Chris McLeod over in Brooke. Brooke that's an interesting one because when she hired in, I think we saw you at the Hills Restaurant when she was meeting with the mayor when she first hired into the city. So that's how we were introduced to her. Mike Vizhenko, awesome guy. We stole him from Sterling Heights, so and then my lone and only hire here in the city, Clerk Scott. And, we opened it up wide, but I can say it now because I'm on my way out the door, but there was never a doubt who we were going to hire for that position. And wow, we must do a good job at hiring clerks because, we ended up getting the Clerk of the Year for the entire state of Michigan along with that package. What a phenomenal hire. And she and I have just become really, I bounce ideas off of her. She has all of this institutional knowledge about the city. She's worked in various departments, not just the clerk's office, and she'll tell me, oh, well, this is how we've done it in the past, and which really and truly it helps to make these decisions. And so really and truly, I appreciate all the years that, and I'm so glad we made you the clerk. And to Mayor Barnett, at this point, you're not just my mayor, you're also my friend. I mean, one of the great things, he's just like Councilman Walker said earlier in the evening, Mayor Barnett is one of those that is, again, at the top of his game. He wakes up, he goes to sleep thinking about how am I going to do this better? How can I improve on this? And goes and wakes up thinking the exact same thing. And there's a reason that his peers across the nation, elected him to be the America's mayor. To be fair, you would not, when you look at the people who make up the past, U.S. Conference of Mayors presidents, you have what, like Pete Buttigieg? Wasn't he one of them? the past ones, and then you've got all these like big city mayors, and then right in there is Mayor Brian Barnett, just because in a room of all of these names that you've heard nationwide, he still stands out, and there is a reason. And one of the things, and again, this kind of goes towards the new incoming members, anybody that's coming in, is that one of the things when you're sitting up here in the legislative body, what it relies on is that you're sitting up here and you pass these resolutions, but it's the executive team and his staff that carry it out. And so it requires this trust. And I have developed an immense trust in, Mayor Barnett and his team and what they can accomplish. When he first came to us with the idea for Innovation Hills, they showed us kind of his dream board, so to speak, of what he wanted to see. And then, we followed the development and we approved it. And when I went out there and saw it, it literally blew me away in terms of how much better this was than my imagination could even envision. And when you develop that level of trust where, he comes up with an idea and you trust that that idea will be carried out, in an amazing and innovative way, there's really nothing you can't do, because without you, when you have good people, you let them do what they do best. And so, I've really appreciated my time here. I've appreciated working with you, getting to know you. You're my mayor as long as you'll have us. And I really appreciate our time together. And once again, to my fellow council members, as I said earlier tonight, you guys are all some of the most amazing people. And the fact that you all devote your time and talent and what you do, and everybody up here comes from a different, with the exception of Marvy and myself, everybody up here comes from kind of a different area of expertise, and you all bring that different perspective, and you bring it for the benefit of the city. And, and for that, I am immensely proud of the people that I have had the pleasure to serve with. You are all phenomenal people. And, we've been through a lot of ups and downs on this council. We had great successes. We did the Auburn Road Corridor, and then we got hit with a pandemic. And then in the midst of all of that, we built Innovation Hills, and then there was a incident at the incident at the splash pad. But through it all, we got through it. We persevered, and I think that we came out of all of that better than when we went in. And I thought long and hard over the 8 years of all the votes that I cast while I was sitting up here, and it's got to be it's got to be over 1,000 by now. All the votes that I cast. And at the end of the day, I could only come up with one, and that was that stood out among all of them. And it was when I voted to appoint Councilman Walker to this board. You have done a phenomenal. What you have added to this committee, and serving as vice president for all those years has truly been phenomenal. You literally, as a real estate agent, you've had the opportunity to be in every one of these homes, and you've known intimately every detail and was there with us every step of the way. So I do definitely appreciate that, and it's one of the most impactful votes that I made. But again, I treasure my time serving with each and every one of you. You all are phenomenal people. I will miss you all, but I will continue to be your friend. And you can call on me anytime for anything that you need. And that's all I have for this evening. Next up, Clerk Scott.
Thank you, President Deal. I promise to make this quick, or as quick as I can. Just to your comment, though, about my institutional knowledge, That was a nice way of saying I've worked here a long time and I'm getting really old. So I appreciate that. Okay, so I know it's been a week, and for most of us, we forgot the election's behind us. But I want to congratulate the 3 council members-elect, 2 are in the audience, and I want to publicly, Kristen, can you show my screen? I want to publicly and personally thank the small army of people who made our recent election possible. Most especially my awesome team in the clerk's office. It's easy to take for granted the immense effort that goes into ensuring a smooth, secure, and successful election day. The truth is, it's a massive undertaking that simply could not happen without the dedicated partnership of an entire community. So I want to extend a profound thank you to all the residents, and we have hundreds and hundreds that work as election inspectors for us, the staff that's listed up on the board, as well as the council members that helped assist in this most recent election. We often say it, but it bears repeating. We simply could not run a secure, transparent, and successful election without all of you. The commitment it takes, the long hours, the detailed training, the dedication to the process is extraordinary. So to every election worker who served your neighbors at the polls, and to every staff member who worked tirelessly behind the scenes, we see the effort, we appreciate your commitment, and we thank you for your invaluable service to our community. Thank you, President Deal.
Thank you very much. Next up, Mrs. Mangioli.
Thank you, President Deal. So my countdown is getting smaller as to how many times I have to say that tonight.
It's very, time's ticking.
Yeah, and I do want to echo the words of Clerk Scott, to the thanks to the clerk and her team here in the building who ran a flawless election, for all the work that you did. It's just amazing what you go through. And my boss at work also worked at another city, and when she told me what they do versus what we do, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Donna, you need to come over here and see what Rochester Hills does, because your community is not doing it as well. So we do a phenomenal job. You do a phenomenal job here. Thank you very much for you and your staff, and for all of those that you've mentioned. Thank you.
Very good. Mayor Barnett, do you have any words for us this evening?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I have lip kisses for you, Carol, and David for the kind comments that you made. I'll give those after. Thank you to the audience who must feel like they've come to our family reunion, sitting through this. Appreciate the patience. This only happens once every 4 years, sometimes 8, so thank you for being patient. Just a couple quick things, and of course, to the new council members that are in the crowd, don't mess this up. We got a really good thing going here. A couple of quick comments. If you could share my screen, I'll be exceptionally quick. The city, as I mentioned earlier in our initial comments, has been really fortunate to win a lot of awards. We won 2 more since we last met. One, a House Beautiful Named Best, the 4th best place to live in the United States, according to the data that they had, looked at over 800 communities. You see that's above. We're getting too many awards to recognize in one page. And then shortly thereafter that, we were recognized by Realtor.com as being one of the 15 best small cities. I love this because this came to me from the mayor of Troy, who sent this and said, hashtag, you've got to be kidding me, because this is the 2nd time we beat them nationally by 1. Also glad to note that I'm not the mayor, and you probably are glad you're not the council members of Pflugerville, Texas, wherever that is. But again, nice recognitions. They don't drive us internally, but there are nice when we're recognized by peers nationally. And this year, I think this is our 6th national award we've won, which is pretty incredible. Just a couple quick notes. The Hills Herald landed. Lots of great information in there. Hopefully everyone has a copy. We also have it online. The podcast, recognizing Patty Jocks from Gifts for All God's Children, dropped last week, so we encourage people to check that out. It's fantastic. As Leanne mentioned, here's the data behind her tremendous work. We're always a little disappointed when voter turnout isn't higher. In the presidential election last year, we had, I think, 76 or 77%. A quarter of the folks came out this year. And of course, you can see down at the bottom, especially disappointing was the amount of people that came out for early voting, since it probably cost us $300 a vote to run that. But obviously, the This is a state function. Leanne and her team do a great job. This is no reflection of them, but rather a reflection and encouragement to our community to take every election seriously and hopefully get out and vote. We had a nice recognition last week of the new president of Rochester Christian University, Dr. Reggie Zwinkia, who was sworn in and was able to participate in that function. This is always a fun one for us. We painted the plows this past weekend. This is a great opportunity for our local community. Most of our elementary and middle and high schools come in to our DPS garage. Tracy and her team do a wonderful job connecting. How else would you get 75 middle school and high school students into a DPS garage except to give them the canvas of our plows. And then we take these plows and try to put them around the neighborhoods and schools that these are representative of. So a really great program that many communities have modeled after ours. We've been doing this for probably a decade now, but take a look. We hope they're not out too soon, but when the plows come out, they'll be decorated by our very own Rochester Community School students, and we appreciate that. Much was mentioned about this. I know a couple council members were there. This is a picture of the Rise Cup Championship. I know council members Neubauer and Mangioli were there. I'm going to have Pam and Sarah and team come give an update on this maybe in a month or so. This was wildly successful. And the part that I think is most interesting, outside of all the competition and the excitement that was generated throughout this in the past month or so, was that we were able to raise over 10,000 pounds of food. I think this number is actually low. I think it's like 12,000 pounds that we were able to raise for Neighborhood House. And if you're following the national discussion about SNAP benefits and food scarcity and so forth, the Neighborhood House's demand for services has never been higher. And our business community stepped up and led by the genius idea of this Rise program, Rise Cup, to really meet a local need. So that's really exciting. In continuance and furtherance of meeting that need, it was an idea of several council members, some sneezing, that we should challenge our neighboring community for a food drive. You passed the sleigh of food drive, the food drive collection area on the way in. We are working with the city of Rochester, both our city and their city, our drop-off locations. Again, this is only a competition in the sense that we want to raise as much food poundage as we can so that we can help those in our community in need. Please drop off any of your donations by the end of this month, and we'll make sure everything gets to the Neighborhood House. Tomorrow's Veterans Day. We've got a series of events that I'll be at almost every hour on the hour, but the one that is probably most central to our community is tomorrow at 11 on the 11th. And this, of course, is at Veterans Memorial Point, where we'll take the time that we do every year to honor our veterans, and hope that you will take some time, specifically tomorrow, hopefully every day, but tomorrow specifically, to recognize those folks that have obviously chosen their community and this country before themselves. We appreciate them sincerely. And following, before we meet again, next Friday is Light the Village. It's kind of the big kickoff of the community's over-the-top celebration of the holiday season. You've got this, followed by Lanyap, followed by the lighting of the trees at Innovation Hills, followed by the lighting of the trees at Meadowbrook Hall, followed by about 2 billion, and that's a slight estimate, holiday events between now and the end of the year. So we just encourage our folks to get out and enjoy some of the incredible things happening. And speaking of getting out, last Friday we had a very kind of fun call out for the recognition of Rick Welch, who retired. They do a special call out. His last call, drives a truck out of the station. He retired after 29 years of service, and certainly want to recognize Rich and his family on the next chapter, and thank him for his service. President Deal.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mayor. Next up, Attorney's Report 2025-0473, request to consider a proposed consent judgment resolving litigation concerning 3 contiguous parcels located west of Rochester Road and south of Cloverport Avenue.
Thank you, President Deal.
With you.
Yes, thank you, President Deal. Before you this evening is a proposed consent judgment. I believe most of council is familiar with this matter. It involves 3 contiguous parcels of property that are located at the southwest corner of Cloverport and Rochester Road. Back in 2022, these parcels were zoned industrial property. The master plan at that time had recommended that they be rezoned. After consideration by the Planning Commission, a recommendation was made to rezone those properties. It came to council. Properties were rezoned to flex residential, and the just prior to, in 2022, the property was sold, and the new owners were aware that it was industrial at that time. During the context of the consideration of rezoning, those property owners were aware that the rezoning was coming. After the rezoning occurred, they commenced litigation. There has been litigation with respect to a alleged taking of the property and alleging substantive due process violations by the rezoning. The city has undergone extensive preparation with respect to preparing that case for trial. There's also been negotiation with council, and before you this evening is a proposed consent judgment which would resolve the litigation in a manner that legal counsel, trial counsel, and myself are recommending that this council consider. The specifics of the actual consent judgment design and layout, Sarah is here who can provide some of the context of the plan.
Thank you very much. And for one last time, good evening, President Deal, Carlock, members of council, Mayor Barnett. Yes, we have, over the course of the better part of a year, reviewed the site and potential options of what could happen there. As Mr. Chris indicated, this property, we were involved in litigation. And just to refresh your memory here, we're talking about just over 4 acres of pretty heavily wooded, steep sloped land that is accessed only off of Cloverport and is abutting city-owned green space. As indicated, the slope of the property does drop as you go to the southwest corner of the property, making it a little bit challenging, along with its natural features, which are part of the concerns the city has in its development. As Mr. Christus indicated, it was historically zoned industrial with a portion of flex business and was initiated for single family from council because of the surrounding uses and because of the challenges with access to the site. The original plan for the property from the current property owners was for industrial self-storage. So this was what their vision was for the property when they initially purchased it. And through discussions and negotiations back and forth over the past year, we have got to an agreed consent and judgment plan, which results in 11 single-family homes to be built on this property. The plan, by and large, meets all of our city ordinances with a couple of exceptions, but the exceptions are all in keeping with the consistency of the character of Cloverport Avenue as it exists today. The first of which, it'll allow for 2 homes to front onto Cloverport with a 75-foot width, where current ordinance requires an 80-foot width, but the width of houses and lots on Cloverport and this whole little area varies from 50 feet up to over 100 feet. And so it is within range of a lot of the existing home lots in the area. It does waive the requirement for sidewalks and allows for reduction in the road right-of-way from 60 feet to 50 feet, and that was done for 2 reasons. One, to be consistent with what is currently out there in the character of the Cloverport properties, and also to maximize tree preservation. As indicated, the site is very heavily wooded, and we wanted to maintain that as much as possible. And so the proposed plan will still need to meet our 40% tree preservation requirements. And so allowing for that reduction in road right-of-way and not requiring a sidewalk goes a little bit farther than you would think in maintaining some of those natural spaces for trees, particularly along the southern property line. So this is the proposed consent judgment that has been proposed and already signed and offered by the property owner, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Very good. Thank you very much. Yes, legal questions will go to Mr. Chris. We do have one member of the public wishing to comment on this item, and it is Mrs. Nancy Riley.
My name is Nancy Riley, and I live at 69 Cloverport. I just want to clarify, we're here to review it, not to approve it. Is that true?
We can't communicate with you. This is your opportunity to make comment.
My other question is, how do we, the neighbors on Cloverport, get a copy of this consent judgment so we can review it? This is the first we've known about it. We all just received letters in the mail today. I got this at 6:30 when I got home. So we've not had a chance to discuss any of this with you. So we're asking for a copy of the consent judgment before anything is agreed upon.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And Mrs. Riley, I'll try to address some of the questions that you just asked. So I think number one, this would be tonight. What's before us on the agenda is to approve a consent judgment, which would resolve litigation between the city of Rochester Hills and the property owner. So tonight would be the night that we would take action on this item. Now, to answer the second question, the second question is, because you guys were the public was notified tonight, or at least I think we mailed per our policy copies of the agenda. That is because this is, as Ms. Roediger pointed out and as Mr. Chris pointed out, this is the result of ongoing litigation. So in other words, and I'll give you a little bit of a longer history just to kind of assist. So the parcel, and Ms. Roediger, if you could jump back, I think one slide. Yeah, there you go. So this property, this piece of property was originally zoned as industrial property. A few years ago, when we were looking at the flex business overlay, it was noted that that property was completely landlocked. It was surrounded on all sides by different uses. You've got residential use to the south, you've got residential to the north, and you've got some businesses that front Rochester Road. There were no uses that property could have being landlocked as an industrial parcel, because there was no way that you could access it. The property that you see where the access would be was zoned, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, R4 residential. So when this came up in planning and I looked at it, I personally became concerned that this property, we could be having a lawsuit, because it could be constituted taking if you zoned something that didn't have any use. So as part of that flex business overlay, and unbeknownst to me, there was a property owner who was intending to build some kind of self-storage on the property, but I decided, looking at it, I thought we sent it to planning, and planning looked at it a few times, and it really seemed to be that the best use for the property was as residential property, because it's near residential property on nearly all sides, with the exception of the businesses that front Rochester Road, which is kind of unique. Didn't really seem to fit to be zoned industrial. And I also didn't think that it would be a good idea to have an industrial entryway into a neighborhood subdivision. So we zoned it as R4. I'm going to guess that the property owner probably didn't like that too much and decided to file a lawsuit against the city. And this was the resolution of that. This is the resolution of that lawsuit. And what you'll see, and Ms. Roediger, if you could go ahead one slide, you'll see that really this property was zoned R4, meaning that residential housing units could be installed there. And what we wanted to do was to resolve, I felt very strongly about our chances with the lawsuit. And so what we wanted to do was to come up with something that really wasn't giving up anything. And so, current ordinances require a sidewalk be put in anytime you put in a new development, but there are no sidewalks in the Cloverport area. So we didn't think we were giving up anything by not having a sidewalk. The other waiver was a 10-foot reduction in the road right-of-way, which, by the way, is very is very consistent with what is already exists. The other thing that we granted was the 5-foot lot variances for 2 lots on Cloverport. When Cloverport was developed, you didn't have the same kind of width variances that we have today. So the width variance that we're giving really is more consistent with the houses that are already on Cloverport. In fact, the 2 houses that they're putting on Cloverport are actually sitting on, I believe, 3 lots, if I'm not mistaken, 3 lots. So ordinarily, originally they intended to build 3 houses, where now, they will be building 2, and that even requires a variance under our ordinance. So those are really the 3 main, I would guess, concessions that the city gave to the lawsuit, above and beyond what the property owner could have built just without coming to us at all. Could have just built as of right, if I'm not mistaken. I think, and Sarah's nodding her head that I got my facts right there. So I hope that helps to answer your questions. But yes, tonight is the night that we will be voting on it. The reason that this could not be disclosed earlier is because when you're resolving a lawsuit, you cannot make that public. That has to be done. So the only thing that can be done when you're resolving a lawsuit is the final vote, which is here tonight. And the timing of that, while I understand it is a little crunched, but it's really the realities of litigation and how litigation works, and that these things have to get wrapped up within a certain period of time. Otherwise, you're going to trial, and you have to prep. Your team has to prep for trial, and that can be very, very expensive. So I hope that we've answered those questions satisfactorily for you. Mr. Blair.
Thank you, President Deal, and I don't know if that's the last time I'm going to be able to say. We'll see. The other items don't look like they're going to require much discussion, but I did want to speak to the resident that voiced her concern. I won't speak to the content of our closed session meetings, but I do want to make it as clear as I possibly can that this process is an outstanding example of just how much city staff and your elected officials go to bat and advocate for our residents. I promise you something is going to happen to this land. It was going to be a storage unit, which I don't think anybody would have wanted. If we went to trial, it very well could have been a storage unit, so it was in the city's best interest to come up with a compromise. The first iteration of this compromise was significantly different, and through back and forth over months, we've come up with a solution that the developer agrees to, which makes the best possible use of that land as harmoniously as possible to the surrounding community. So I understand the concern, right? When there's a development in your backyard, you'd love for the trees to stay and for it to be untouched. But unfortunately, with private property and a developer who's motivated to see a return on their investment, that's just not possible. Something was going to happen to this land.
This cannot be,
it's not a dialogue, I'm
this cannot
sorry.
be a back and forth.
But I will close my comment by saying that I'm very proud of the work that our Planning Commission, our attorneys, and City Council has done, and the administration as well, to come to this, which is why I'll be approving it, voting to approve it. Back to you, President Deal. I move it, yeah.
Motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mrs. Moreland.
Thank you for that. Where was? Good
I'll
looking
go-
out.
Without further seeing no further discussion or public comment on this item, I'll go ahead and read the resolution. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby approves the proposed consent judgment resolving litigation concerning 3 contiguous parcels located west of Rochester Road and south of Cloverport Avenue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. Moving on to nominations and appointments. Item number 2025-0471, request to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Warner Richard Braun III, James Nachman, and the appointment of Don Holmes to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a 3-year term to expire November 13th, 2028. We have a motion by Mrs. Moreland, seconded by Mr. Blair. I don't see any further discussion or public comment on this item, so I'll go ahead and read it into the record. Resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby confirms the mayor's reappointments of Werner Rick Braun III, James Nachman, and the appointment of Don Holmes to the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a 3-year term to expire November 13th, 2028. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. And that moves us on to new business, item number 2025-0456, request for approval of interlocal agreement between the City of Rochester Hills and the City of Auburn Hills for construction of the Auburn Hills Pathway segment at the border of the communities on South Adams Road. Ms. Balin.
Good evening. Good evening, Council Deal, Vice President Carlock, City Council, and Mayor Barnett, who disappeared. So we have 3 items here in front of you this evening. The first one is the interlocal agreement between Auburn Hills and Rochester Hills. We are requesting your approval for the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement between Rochester Hills and Auburn Hills. This agreement will allow us to include a small portion of sidewalk that Auburn Hills is constructing near Forrester and Old Adams. In the bid for Rochester Hills pathway projects that we are constructing along Adams, near Marketplace, and Forrester Boulevard. All costs related to the design, inspection, and construction of the pathway in Auburn Hills will be the sole responsibility of Auburn Hills. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Very good. We do have some questions. Mr. Blair.
I move this motion, or move this item, but in as few words as possible, can you explain what an energy recovery device in a PRV vault actually does?
Oh, that's in the next one.
That's the next one? Oh, okay. Well,
the pressure reducing valve, that's a PRV.
That's a different one? Okay.
Yeah, it's the next one.
Moved and seconded by Mrs. Borland. I'll read the resolution. Resolved that the City Council authorizes the approval of the interlocal agreement between the City of Rochester Hills and the City of Auburn Hills for construction of the Auburn Hills pathway segment at the border of the communities on South Adams Road. It is resolved that that Mayor Brian Barnett will be authorized to execute the agreement on behalf of the city. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. And this moves us on to item number 2025-0461, request for purchase authorization, engineering, blanket purchase order contract for preliminary engineering services for the study and design related to pressure reducing valves, or PRV, 678 improvement project in the amount not to exceed $136,900. Hubble, Roth & Clark, Inc., Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Ms. Balin.
All right, thank you. So again, we're requesting approval to award the contract to HRC for engineering services for the improvements and system adjustments to our pressure-reducing valves, PRV 678. So I'll try to give a very quick, brief explanation. Throughout our water system, we have about 35 what we call PRVs, pressure-reducing valves, and those control the pressure in the system. They're also connected to our SCADA system, so we can monitor what pressures are coming in and out. Due to the topography of Rochester Hills, it's really fine-tuned over the years on how we control these valves, control the pressures into certain areas. This particular project we have been talking about for maybe 8 years. And it's to make adjustments on these 3 particular PRVs to kind of redistrict some of the, we have 8 pressure districts within the system, within the water system, and this kind of makes adjustments to 3 of those to improve pressures to, it's kind of Avon to Tinkin, Brewster to, I would say halfway between Brewster and Livernois, and it would make improvements to the pressures to the residents in those areas.
Thank you, and I apologize for jumping the gun. I should have been listening to what was being said instead of reading about this. So I noticed they're going to be looking into this energy recovery turbine, which looks incredibly expensive, and I was curious if that's included in this, the estimate for the cost of the project, which I think was going to be, if I scroll up here, yeah. No, the actual project cost. It was 1.2 to 1.4 million. Does that include this energy recovery turbine, and what does that actually do?
It's part of the valving system and the pressure reducing valves. I guess maybe fancy term for a more efficient valve.
Okay.
In these three structures.
So if we decide not to do that, will it be the 1.2 million? And if we decide to get that piece of equipment, it's going to be 1.4?
Yeah, I think through their study, because this is also like study and design,
Okay.
we'll make the best determination of what that would be.
Obviously, I want to make sure that we're getting the most value out of our investment, but at the same time, that's not an insignificant amount of money. So
Correct.
if we're going to be doing that, I just want to know,
Right.
what it is. So.
And that's through the study and through their recommendation, that's what we'll come back with.
So you'll be
the
coming
proposal.
back, obviously,
Yes.
for the
Yes,
for the project.
yes.
Very
Yep.
good. Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Blair, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. Seeing no further discussion or public comment on this item, resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes a contract blanket purchase order for the preliminary engineering services for the study and design related to pressure reducing valves 6, 7, and 8 improvement project to Hubble, Roth & Clark, Inc., Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, in the amount not to exceed $136,900, and further authorizes the procurement manager to execute an agreement on behalf of the city. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank
And
you.
that moves us on to item number 2025-0468, request for purchase authorization fleet. Purchase authorization of one trackless municipal tractor MT7 and attachments in the amount of $217,696 to McQueen Equipment LLC, Bell Equipment, Lake Orion, Michigan.
Thank you. The Department of Public Services is requesting your approval for the purchase of one trackless municipal tractor from Bell Equipment in Lake Orion. This tractor is pretty unique. It's used year-round for various tasks like mowing, sweeping, and snow removal. It's really significant on the pathways. You probably have seen them on the pathways, but we currently have 3, and this would actually be the 4th to the fleet.
So this will really help us out in terms of getting the pathways cleared of snow in the wintertime.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're really
Literally by
significant.
25%.
Perhaps.
Motion by Vice President Carlock, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. Seeing no further discussion on this item, resolved that the Rochester Hills City Council hereby authorizes the purchase of one trackless municipal tractor, MT7, and attachments to McQueen Equipment LLC, DBA Bell Equipment, Lake Orion, Michigan, in the amount of $217,696. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's see, next up is 2025-0470, request for purchase authorization, Mayor, approval of 2026 City Attorney Services in the amount not to exceed $265,000, the Kelly Law Firm, PC, Sylvan Lake, Michigan.
All right, well, thank you, President Deal, Vice President Carlock, City Council members, and Mayor Barnett. Presented before you tonight is, for your approval, is a blanket purchase order in the amount of $265,000, covering city attorney services for fiscal year 2026 to the Kelly Firm, PC. Well, Mr. Christ, we'll have he'll comment here in a few moments here, but he has served as our city attorney for the last several years, and he has confirmed that there will be a $5 per hour increase proposed from next year, from $150 per hour to $155 per hour starting next year. Now, there was a little bit of conversation today per a legal opinion that was rendered by the city attorney in January of 2016. The city's charter defines that the city attorney is by appointment of the city council. Now, the city has historically exempted city attorney services from the competitive requirement of the purchasing ordinance based on the charter. With the charter handling specifically how the city attorney appointment is handled, it has been considered to be a professional service that is exempt from the city's typical competitive bidding requirements on just about everything else per our purchasing ordinance. So the city may choose to competitively bid out the attorney services. However, our purchasing ordinance does not require us to do so. So ultimately, it would be City Council's determination to make that decision and direct administration if that is the path that City Council chooses. But the City Council or the City Attorney should be appointed by City Council. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Christ, and he will provide some details on the planned merger between the Kelly firm, PC.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, President Deal and Council. This is an opportunity for my firm to have additional attorneys that specialize in municipal and governmental practice. It provides additional strength and bench support with respect to providing timely, cost-effective counsel and representation to the city. I am proposed to continue to be the principal attorney, providing guidance to the city and staff as needed, supplemented by other attorneys who have particular expertise with respect to specific areas or subjects with respect to governmental practice. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good. We'll kick things off with Mrs. Mangioli.
Thank you very much, President Deal.
Probably
this
the last
is the
time.
last one.
Yeah,
I can
that's
say
the
it the
last
last time. Why do you think I wanted to buzz in on this? One last time to call you President Deal. Thank you very much, Mr. Christ, for the explanation. I was glad to see that Mr. Starin is still listed as someone who'll be providing support. Is he back to work at this point?
He is not. He has an open invitation, and he's just trying to
I know.
decide his path.
It's been a very short time since the passing of his wife, and we all send his condolences, our condolences to him. He was an excellent representative for us, and so I'm glad to see that he may still be considering active involvement again. I do have a question for Mr. Snyder, because the email that you sent me explained everything you said about competitive bids, because I asked about that piece. So then I went and I actually found the charter today and was reading through it, and it says clerk, treasurer, and city attorney is an appointment of city council. So I was wondering, because then I asked President Deal and Vice President Carlock their engagement in the process, and they had not been involved. So I'm hoping that in future contract negotiations that the president of council will be involved in the process. And then, not to say I don't want the mayor to be involved, but it should be a council appointment, not and not done through some other process.
Sure.
So.
I think when, originally, well, I think it was even going back to, was it Bayer Howlett, which was John Starin's previous firm. I mean, now you're going back even Clerk Scott and I, initially there was a solicitation process to select, and then since then. So really, it's been decades since we've gone out for legal services. But if there ever was the decision to move that way, absolutely, council would be very much involved in that.
I was just thinking it's a new name, so it's a new firm, so understanding some of that process. But if nothing else,
still the same Mr. Christ.
That's a good thing to know.
With a bigger bench.
The same Mr. Christ. I've known Mr. Christ for a long time, too. Not quite as long as I have known Mrs. Moreland, but I've known her for a long time. So thank you, and I hope that in the future we'll have more council involvement in this process. And with that, I move the resolution in the packet.
Motion by Mrs. Mangioli, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. Mayor Barnett.
Yep. President Deal. Now I'm the last one to say it. I think just to Councilmember Mangioli's point, I think that the nature of this was that this didn't feel like a new situation. If Mr. Christ was retiring and we were going out to find a new attorney, certainly this would look very different. Council would be involved. This literally is like, changing the sign on the door. So with no substantive changes, we figured council was very fine with the legal coverage we've been getting. But truthfully, if something were to change and Mr. Christ were to retire, we obviously would have a full competitive bid process with council leading the charge.
Very good. We have a motion by Mrs. Mangioli, seconded by Mrs. Moreland. Resolved that the city council is requested to authorize approval of the 2026 attorney services with, Hafley, Sterin and Christ, PC, Sylvan Lake, Michigan, under the new firm name of the Kelly Law Firm, PC, and further authorize a blanket purchase order for 2026 city attorney services to the Kelly Law Firm in the amount not to exceed $265,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, City Council.
And with that, there being no further business in front of Mrs. Moreland.
Thank you, President Deal. For my very last time, I'd like to move for adjournment.
Motion by Mrs. Moreland to adjourn, seconded by Mrs. Mangioli. All those in favor of adjournment say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been a great ride.